Chapter 553. Bang! There was a loud noise. The Thunder Tribulation ruler fell heavily to the ground, exploding into dust. The entire hall directly collapsed into dust. His body was riddled with wounds, and fresh blood flowed out, dyeing his entire body red. After struggling for a long time, the Thunder Tribulation Lord did not stand up. He glared at the purple shadow with hatred, as if he wanted to swallow him whole. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign roared, You'll die a horrible death. Huh. The purple phantom laughed heartily, not taking Thunder Tribulation ruler's words to heart. Little ant, it looks like you're done for. I'll send you off. After saying that, the purple shadow stretched out his finger and pressed it at the Thunder Tribulation ruler. It was about to press down on the Thunder Tribulation ruler and turn his body into powder. At this moment, the purple shadow was horrified to find that his finger was unable to press down. His fingers seemed to encounter an indescribable resistance. To be able to save Lei Out Yin right under his nose, the person who came was definitely not simple. Who is it? Pretending to be mysterious, come out for this seat. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find any clues. Phew! Suddenly a sound rang out. A figure appeared out of thin air and stood directly on top of the Thunder Tribulation Sovereign. He was dressed in white and looked extremely handsome. His words and actions were natural, making him look especially comfortable. It was Sun Hao. At this moment, he turned his back to the purple shadow, completely ignoring him. Little Thunder, something big happened. Why didn't you send me a message? Sun Hao's voice, with the power of recovery, poured into the ears of the Thunder Tribulation Lord. He, who had fainted, gradually regained consciousness. When he saw Sun Hao, his eyes bloomed with indescribable brilliance. Young master, I'm afraid of disturbing you, said the Thunder Tribulation Dominator. Xiaolei, it seems that you haven't regarded this seat as a friend yet. Sun Hao said. The Thunder Tribulation Sovereign was startled, revealing a look of disbelief and surprise. The young master actually said they were friends? So, I am Gongzi's friend? Is this real? Moved, excited, in disbelief, shocked. All kinds of complicated emotions surged in his chest. Young master, I was wrong. The Thunder Tribulation Chief, Sovereign, lowered his head. All right, let's not worry about this for now. You should rest first. This feeling of being ignored was extremely unpleasant. As a favor to the celestial monarch, he had never been treated like this before, angering this seat to death. Baby teeth, you're courting death. Who are you? How dare you stop me? The purple figure roared furiously. Noisy, the sound reverberated in his mind. Sun Hao turned his head and glanced over. Boom! A few streaks of illusory lightning descended from the sky and directly struck the purple shadow. Instantly, bang! The purple shadow directly exploded into nothingness and disappeared. Seeing this, Zi Zhao's pupils constricted and his expression changed drastically. He looked at Sun Hao, his body trembling uncontrollably. How strong was her father? He was very clear. Even if it was just a phantom image, an ordinary god emperor would not be a match for it. However, this skinny and weak-looking man in front of him was able to blast his father into nothingness with just a glance. Other than the sages, who else could achieve such strength? He's a saint. Oh my god! Zishao opened his mouth and stood there in a daze. His body trembled violently, and he collapsed uncontrollably. He took the opportunity to crawl in front of Sun Hao, motionless. Young master, it's all my fault. If I had sent you a message earlier, my people would not have died. My daughter, she died so miserably. Thunder Tribulation Lord's voice was sorrowful. He stood there and cried. It's okay. As long as the time of death is not more than a month, there is still hope. Sun Hao's voice was like thunder. Thunder Tribulation Lord's body trembled, and for a moment, he was stunned in place. What did the young master mean by this? Could it be that he could resurrect his daughter? Thinking of this, Thunder Tribulation Lord's scalp exploded, and he looked at Sun Hao in a daze, only to see. Who? Sun Hao waved his right hand, and wisps of tin-colored light flew out of his fingertips. Pictures appeared in front of Thunder Tribulation Lord like a movie. These pictures were all things that happened before. However, at this moment, it was like playing backward. Time goes back, my ancestor. Thunder Tribulation Lord was stunned in place, and his body trembled slightly. The other purple-armored giants looked at this scene, and they were also stunned in place, opening their mouths wide, but they didn't spit out a word. After a while, shoo! A void line pulled out the figures in the picture. Every Thunder Tribulation giant was resurrected. Even the collapsed hall was restored at this moment. I didn't die. No, I'm resurrected. My God, there is such a secret technique in this world. Incredible, unimaginable. What the hell happened? A group of Thunder Tribulation giants stared blankly in place, and they didn't wake up for a while. Lei Lu looked at Thunder Tribulation Lord, stepped forward, and rushed toward him. Dad! She hugged Thunder Tribulation Lord tightly and cried loudly. At this moment, Thunder Tribulation Lord was still stunned in place. He felt that everything in front of him was incredible. After a long time, he patted Lei Lu's shoulder mechanically. Little Lu, it's okay, it's okay. Thunder Tribulation Lord said. Dad, what the hell is going on? Lei Lu asked what was on everyone's mind. All the Thunder Tribulation giants stared at Thunder Tribulation Lord, motionless. Thunder Tribulation Lord smiled slightly and swept his eyes on Sun Hao. All this is thanks to the young master. Thunder Tribulation Lord looked at Sun Hao with a grateful face. Just now, the young master resurrected you. What? Is it really resurrected? My God, what a handsome human young master. He actually has such means. How strong is the young master? This is too terrifying. Exclamations kept ringing. The young master's realm, if I'm not mistaken, must have reached the saint realm. This sound, like thunder, blasted in everyone's ears. Everyone looked at Sun Hao blankly, full of worship. Really a saint. Sure enough, the saint is really omnipotent. If I have 1/10,000th of a young master's strength, I will have no regrets in this life. Hearing this, Sun Hao smiled and shook his head. Everyone, the saint is not the peak, but the starting point of the path of cultivation. The era of darkness has come, and everyone must be twisted into a rope to deal with the abyssal monsters together. The grudges between the myriad races should no longer exist. Sun Hao's words clearly reached everyone's ears. When they heard this, they revealed expressions of disbelief. The saint was the starting point. How far was the path of cultivation? This was simply unimaginable. After listening to the young master's words, my horizons were instantly opened. The saint is the starting point, then I will fight for this starting point. Chapter 554. Gotcha! The sound of the realm breakthrough sounded like firecrackers. The entire hall was roaring. The strength of the Thunder Tribulation giants was advancing by leaps and bounds. First grade lower god, second grade lower god, ninth grade lower god, mid-grade god, superior god. Soaring and advancing by leaps and bounds could not describe the mood of the Thunder Tribulation giants at this moment. Everyone had a look of comfort on their faces. They clenched their fists excitedly and quietly felt all this. Next to the hall, thousands of purple-armored giants stared at this scene blankly, shocked to the extreme. They looked at the tin-colored Saint Chi flowing around the hall, and their expressions changed. This method is too terrifying, right? Forcibly enhancing their strength with the power of Saint Chi. Even a saint does not have such means, right? I didn't expect to see this scene in the human world. This is really unseen and unheard of. Ouch, it hurts. This is not a dream. Such rich Saint Chi, I want to swallow it so much. Why can't these Saint Chi be touched as if they're conscious? Such voices kept ringing. In the corner of the hall, Zi Zhao's scalp exploded, and his body trembled violently. Such a terrifying method. The person in front of him was by no means an ordinary saint. He could meet such a terrifying person in the lower realm this time. Was this 8 lifetimes of bad luck? Zi Zhao looked at Sun Hao, and his face changed. He carefully moved back, not daring to disturb anyone. Clang. The sound of the zither suddenly stopped. A cold gaze stared directly at Zi Zhao. At this moment, his body trembled and cold sweat flowed. When he looked up, his eyes met Sun Hao's. His soul seemed to be hit hard, and his body trembled violently. The little power that had been generated was instantly disintegrated. His whole body slumped to the ground without any spirit. Time passed little by little. Soon, a few hours passed. I broke through to the 5th grade Divine Emperor realm. Incredible. I actually became an 8th grade Divine Emperor realm. My God, I must be dreaming. From a lower god to a Divine Emperor? Ancestor, please tell me this is not a dream, right? This dream is too real. I don't want to wake up. Exclamations continued. Everyone's faces were filled with excitement. Even the Thunder Tribulation's sovereign was trembling with excitement. For a moment, he found it hard to calm down. From the Hierarch realm to the 9th grade God Emperor realm, it seemed like it was only a one-stage increase. However, the difficulty of the cultivation later on was unimaginable. His strength had increased by several times. This was completely unbelievable. If he were to face God Emperor Purple Knight's shadow, the Thunder Tribulation ruler was confident that he could make the other party scatter with a light breath. Even if he were to see his true body, he would only need to stretch out a finger. Young Master, you've become much stronger. Thunder Tribulation Lord walked to Sun Hao with an excited face. Thank you, young Master. Without any hesitation, the Thunder Tribulation ruler knelt down and kowtowed to Sun Hao. With him taking the lead, the other Thunder Tribulation giants also knelt down. His pious expression was indescribable. On everyone's body, the surging power of faith rushed towards Sun Hao. It quickly poured into Sun Hao's body. Sun Hao was shocked, and his face showed incredible surprise. Who would have thought that the power of faith could actually raise his strength? Although the improvement was slow, it was still an improvement. If there were hundreds of millions of times more people, would it still be slow for him to improve? Sun Hao thought secretly, and his heart was in turmoil. He originally thought that the power of faith could only improve the strength of God. Unexpectedly, it could also improve the strength of the Saint Realm. It seems that I have to make some arrangements. Sun Hao thought secretly, and his mind moved. Take them to the Purple Sunstar region to gather. This sound broke through the void of the universe, whistled toward all directions, and instantly reached the ears of every dark knight. After doing this, Sun Hao raised his head and looked at the group of Thunder Tribulation giants. You all get up. Thank you, young master. Everyone got up. The Thunder Tribulation Lord's eyes swept and stared directly at the thousands of purple-armored giants. This stare was like the eyes of hell sweeping over, and the purple-armored giant's body trembled. Young master, what should we do with them? The Thunder Tribulation Lord asked. As soon as these words came out, the purple-armored giants trembled. Before Sun Hao could speak, they all knelt down and kowtowed to Sun Hao. Great existence, please spare our lives. Unparalleled being, we know we were wrong. We were blind and listened to his words. Please give us a way out. The most handsome young master in the world, you are merciful. We are willing to turn over a new leaf. Please give us a way out. Hearing these voices, Sun Hao's face did not change at all. He looked at these purple-armored giants and spoke faintly. You don't deal with the abyssal monsters, but only bully the myriad races and help the tiger do evil. You should be executed. Considering that you have a repentant heart, I will spare your lives for the time being. Next, the dark era will open. If you can charge ahead and perform well, it is not impossible to get promoted. Sun Hao's voice was like thunder, clearly blasting into the ears of every purple-armored giant. These words were as beautiful as the sound of nature. Each of the purple-armored giants showed a look of gratitude as they kowtowed to Sun Hao. If it was fear before, then now, it was sincere surrender. The surging power of faith whistled and poured into Sun Hao's body. Sure enough, Sun Hao nodded secretly. The stronger the strength, the more power of faith contributed. The more sincere submission, the more sincere submission. Thank you for not killing us, my lord. A group of purple-armored giants kept kowtowing and saluting. As for you, Sun Hao's eyes swept and stared directly at Zi Xiao's body trembled, crawling on the ground, shivering. "It's up to you," Sun Hao said. "Thank you, young master." The Thunder Retribution Lord showed a grateful face. He stepped forward and looked at Zi Xiao as if looking at a dead person. "Ao, no, my lord, please spare my life. I was wrong. Please spare my life." Zi Xiao's head knocked heavily on the ground, making a banging sound. "I have given you a chance, Dai." After speaking, the Thunder Retribution Lord stretched out his palm, aimed at Zi Xiao's head, and pressed it down. "My lord, I apologize," before the words fell. Boom! There was an explosion. Countless electric lights, in an instant, enveloped Zi Xiao. His entire body exploded and crumbled into dust. Until death, he did not let out a scream. "Little Lei, you gather all the clansmen and bring them to the Purple Sunstar region. This is the teleportation array." Sun Hao stretched out his hand and waved forward. In the main hall, a teleportation array quickly formed. The Thunder Retribution Lord stared blankly at this scene and nodded heavily. "Yes, young master. Okay, I will leave first. 10 days or so. Come to the Purple Sunstar region to gather." After speaking, Sun Hao's figure flashed and disappeared instantly. Chapter 555. Violet Sunstar, Great Monster Mountain Range. Roar. The beast's roar continued, shaking the entire Great Demon Mountain. Countless abyssal monsters crawled in the Great Demon Mountain Range, densely packed together. The lower-tier abyssal monsters roared and fought with each other from time to time. On this day, a silhouette floated in the air, looking at the entire Great Monster Mountain Range with a solemn expression. She was dressed in a long black robe, and the hem of her skirt was covered with lancet blades. It was none other than Qian Su. "You dare to occupy the young master's territory, I will definitely kill you all." A cold, killing intent flashed across Qian Su's face. She turned around and stared at Han Xing. "Are you scared?" Qian Su asked. "Haha," Han Xing laughed. "Boss, your words are too funny. Let's not talk about the fact that we've recovered to our peak. Even if we don't, I, Han Xing, will never be afraid of these crouching worms." Han Xing said confidently. "Boss, we're not afraid either." Before Qian Su could say anything, the two Polar Guardians replied. "All right, today we will charge into Young Master's residence in one go. From now on, we'll use Young Master's residence as our camp and charge in all directions. Try your best to keep these monsters away from the Young Master's residence." Qian Su said. "Yes, boss." The three of them nodded in unison. For figures flew through the clouds and descended to the ground like stray bullets. Roar. On the ground, the abyssal monster soon discovered their tracks. It raised its head to the sky and roared, causing the entire sky to tremble. The abyssal monster opened its mouth, aimed at the sky, and spat. Swish! Beams of light shot towards Qian Su's group of four like a hail of bullets. A terrifying aura enveloped the entire sky, preventing the four of them from escaping. However, the expressions of Qian Su and the other three didn't change. They didn't slow down at all and didn't even have the intention to dodge. Ding! The light beams struck their bodies, producing a series of metallic, clanging sounds. With the sacred tool given by Sun Hao to protect their bodies, these beams did not leave any harm to them. The four of them plummeted like cannonballs. Boom! For loud noises shook the entire Great Demon Mountain. With Qian Su and the others as the center, 4 waves of qi spread out in all directions. Bang! These 4 waves of qi formed 4 terrifying shockwaves that spread throughout the entire Great Demon Mountain. Wherever it passed, the weaker abyssal monsters would all shatter and explode into powder. Roar! The abyssal monsters that had reached the God King realm and above stepped forward and surrounded Qian Su's group of 4. On Qian Su's side, swish! The sky-covering claws whizzed down, aiming for Qian Su. The entire air was distorted as if it was about to collapse. Oomph! Qian Su snorted coldly and moved her body as though she was dancing. The willow leaf knife on the hem of her skirt gently slashed. Hua! The air seemed to be torn apart as streams of air spread out in all directions. These god monarch-level abyssal monsters were cut into pieces and fell to the ground. Swish! After dancing once, Qiansu's body was like a ghost as she dashed out. The other side, Han Xing stretched out his palm and pressed forward. Phew, the cold wind was cold, and it blew out quickly. Wherever it went, the abyssal monsters were frozen on the spot, unable to move. Bang! The sound of explosions kept ringing. In front of him, dozens of god monarch-level abyssal monsters all collapsed. Not far from Han Xing, the two extreme guardians were 100 meters tall, like two giants. They stretched out their big hands and pressed down. A god monarch-level abyssal monster was pressed to the ground by them like a chicken. Boom! After a few punches, the abyssal monster's body exploded and died tragically on the spot. The two looked like two killing gods, terrifying and boundless. The four were like tigers entering a pack of wolves, killing wildly in the abyss monsters. Roar! When the two God Emperor-level abyssal monsters saw this scene, they looked up to the sky and roared. This sound was like a wolf's head calling its subordinates. Immediately, ding, ding, the sound of hundreds of millions of beasts galloping came from far away. Endless abyssal monsters, like a torrent, pounced on Qiansu and the others from all directions. The shocking scene was indescribable in words. Seeing this scene, Qiansu's four faces changed slightly. Go attack the young master's residence. Qiansu roared. Yes, boss. The four were like cannonballs, galloping in the abyss monsters. With the momentum of crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, they went straight to Sun Hao's residence. Countless abyssal monsters' bodies cracked and exploded into powder. Even the divine lord-level abyssal monsters couldn't cause any harm to them. Even their footsteps couldn't stop them. Boom! The sound of explosions kept ringing. In Sun Hao's residence, the flower fairy stood up, and her eyes bloomed with a strange surprise. Ancestor, it seems that someone is attacking in our direction. Beside the flower fairy, Hua Xilan looked at the flower fairy and said, Yes, someone is attacking. She seems to be Miss Qiansu. After sensing Qiansu's appearance, the flower fairy's eyes bloomed with a strange light. Miss Qiansu, the one who came to the young master's residence 50 years ago? At that time, wasn't her strength only at the demigod realm? Did she reach the god emperor realm now? Hua Xilan asked. That's right. The flower fairy smiled and nodded. Her strength has not only reached the god emperor realm, but the clothes she wears can actually resist the damage of the divine Lord Abyss monsters. If I'm not mistaken, that clothes must be a gift from the young master. The flower fairy said. What? Hua Xilan was shocked, her eyes filled with disbelief and surprise. Doesn't that mean it's a supreme artifact? That's right. Seeing the flower fairy nod, Hua Xilan's body trembled again. In that case, the young master can already refine a supreme artifact. The young master's strength has increased again. Hua Xilan muttered to herself, her eyes blooming with uncontrollable joy. Her thoughts returned to a few decades ago. At that time, Huaxian Valley was still located in the southern region. The entire Huaxian Valley was invaded by evil energy and suffered heavy losses. Fortunately, the young master came and begged the Ancestor to save all the flowers and plants. Thinking of this, Hua Xilan's face turned slightly red. I never thought that a person like the young master would actually play hide and seek with me. Hua Xilan muttered to herself, thinking to herself, Ancestor, could it be that Miss Qiansu knows that we are in danger and came save us? Hua Xilan asked. It's very possible. The flower fairy nodded slightly, worry written all over her face. The power of the young master's courtyard is drying up. With the strength of a few God Emperor-level abyss monsters, in another half a year, the door will be destroyed. At that time, it will be the time of our deaths. I believe that the young master has calculated all of this, so he sent Miss Qiansu to save us. At this point, two streams of tears rolled down the corners of the flower fairy's eyes. She looked at the void and muttered to herself, Young master, are you doing well? How are things going? Has Lady Rumeng revived? I didn't expect you to still think of us. Chapter 556. Boom! A loud noise shook heaven and earth. A God Emperor level abyss monster hit Qiansu. Her body flew upside down and fell heavily to the ground. She struggled for a long time before standing up. Although she was not injured, the impact still made her blood boil. She looked at a wolf-shaped abyss monster in front of her with a hint of fear in her eyes. Ninth grade, God Emperor level. Qiansu murmured. Her expression became more and more serious. Boss, what should we do? These 5 abyss monsters are all 9th grade God Emperor level. Han Xing walked to Qiansu and said, We can only use that trick, Qiansu said. And Han Xing nodded and looked over. The 2 guardians nodded. They guarded Han Xing from the left and right. Buzz, a vibration sounded from Han Xing's body. Han Xing's body lit up with a dazzling white light. With Han Xing as the center, an icy intent spread out in all directions. The temperature of the whole world dropped rapidly. The sky changed color, and dark clouds surged. Heavy snow swirled, falling rapidly. Han Xing's body became brighter and brighter, making people unable to open their eyes. Qiansu did not stop, muttering to herself and constantly forming seals. Her body was like the wind, shuttling between the abyss monsters. Every time, she could narrowly avoid the abyss monster's attack. Swish! One by one, the lancets fell from her clothes and circled around her. Stab! Piercing into the abyss monster's body, splattering blood. Roar! The monster that was hit by the lancet let out a scream and quickly moved away from Qiansu. Z! As time passed, the lancet around Qiansu's body rotated faster and faster, bursting out a frightening aura. The entire lancet lit up with a dazzling light. The kind of power that could tear everything made people's scalp numb. Buzz, the world trembled. Time seemed to freeze. The light of the world seemed to disappear. At this moment, all that could be seen was the light of these lancets. Hundreds of lancets, scattered around, slowly stabbed forward. Every lancet was very fast, and they all had the power to tear apart everything. When several God Emperor level abyss monsters saw this, their faces showed incomparable horror. Without any hesitation, they each took a step and fled frantically. However, swish, an extremely cold energy surged out from Han Xing's body. Wherever it went, everything was sealed in ice. Even the God Emperor level abyssal monsters were frozen in place like ice sculptures. Their eyeballs moved slowly. Extreme fear was written all over his face. Their eyes reflected the lancets stabbing towards them. Roar! These abyssal monsters roared and struggled with all their strength. Kacha! The outer layer of ice on his body cracked. Finally, bang! There was an explosion. The layer of ice exploded, and the abyssal monster regained its freedom. They used all their strength and were about to run away. Pussy! The willow leaf blades suddenly sped up and pierced through the bodies of these the arch monsters, turning their bodies into beehives. Bang! The huge body fell heavily to the ground. He fell to the ground, twitched a few times, and then stopped moving. The God Emperor level abyssal monsters all died tragically on the spot. This scene stunned the other abyssal monsters that were surrounding them. They looked at Qiansu and the others with fear in their eyes. Boss, I didn't expect this move of yours to become a lot stronger. Han Xing looked at Qiansu, revealing a look of admiration. Qiansu smiled slightly, revealing a smug smile. All of this is because of the young master. You're not bad either. You can freeze the 9th grade God Emperor for so long. Qiansu said. Han Xing scratched his head, revealing an embarrassed smile. Boss, don't praise me. If it weren't for the young master, I wouldn't have 1/10,000th of my current strength in 10,000 years. Qiansu said. Yes. Qiansu nodded and patted Han Xing's shoulder. Let's go to the young master's residence. Okay. Han Xing quickly followed behind him, and the 2 extreme guards followed closely behind. Bang! When the group of abyssal monsters saw the 2 coming, they all retreated and made way. Along the way, unimpeded, the 4 quickly stood in front of Sun Hao's house. Creak! When they were about to knock on the door, the courtyard door opened. Flower Fairy and the others poked their heads out. When they saw Qian Su, their eyes bloomed with a strange light. "Miss Qian Su, you're here," Flower Fairy shouted. "Greetings, Miss Xiaolan." Qian Su bowed and saluted. "Miss Qian Su, everyone is a sister. Don't be so polite. Thank you for saving us." Flower Fairy took Qian Su's hand and pulled her into the courtyard. Han Xing and the others followed closely behind. "Miss Qian Su, these are all people from my Huaxian Valley. They have no place to go for the time being, so I brought them to the young master's residence." Flower Fairy pointed to Hua Xilan and the others and introduced them. After some greetings, they quickly became familiar with each other. Suddenly, roar, a muffled beast roar came from the north, causing the entire pavilion to buzz and tremble. The petals of the myriad god lotus in the lotus pond kept shaking, as if they were afraid. This sound shook the heads of Flower Fairy and the others, and their eyes were dazzled. After recovering from their shock, the crowd revealed looks of fear on their faces. "What was that sound just now?" Qian Su asked. "That direction, it seems to be the heavenly demon continent. The sound can resound throughout the entire purple sun star. I'm afraid a saint-level abyss monster has come out." Flower Fairy's words were like thunder, causing everyone's face to turn pale and panic. What? Saint-level abyss monster? What should we do? We can't even beat a superior god-level abyss monster. It's over. It seems that the young master's residence is going to be lost. Everyone muttered to themselves, their faces full of fear. Flower Fairy frowned, revealing a solemn expression. She looked at everyone and said, "Everyone immediately go to the Buddhist kingdom through the teleportation array in the backyard. It should be safe there for the time being." "Ancestor, what about you?" Hua Xilan asked. "Me?" Flower Fairy's face showed a touch of determination. "I promised the young master that I would stay at home. As long as I still have a breath, I will not leave this place." Flower Fairy said, "Ancestor, why do you have to do this?" "That's right. Even if the young master knew about this, he wouldn't blame you. The young master would never want to see you die here." The eyes of everyone from Huaxian Valley were full of tears. Boom! At this moment, a dull sound came. Next, boom! There was another sound. The entire purple sun star was buzzing and trembling. "Stop talking. You guys go quickly. This is an order. The saint-level abyss monster seems to be running towards us. No matter how late we are, we will die here." Chapter 557. "Miss Qian Su, why are you still standing there? Go quickly. It will be too late if you wait any longer." The Flower Fairy looked at Qian Su and the others, revealing an anxious look. "Miss Xiaolan, since you haven't left, how can we leave?" Qian Su looked to the north, showing a touch of determination on her face. "How can the young master's residence be tarnished by monsters? Even if I die, I will not leave half a step," Qian Su said. "And me." Han Xing also stood up and nodded heavily. "Everything we have is given by the young master. If we do something for the young master, we will die without regrets." And us. The two polar guardians were not willing to be outdone. Seeing the change in everyone's faces, the Flower Fairy opened her mouth but didn't say a word. In her eyes, there was a strong touch of emotion. Boom! Boom! In the north of the Great Demon Mountain, the vibration was getting louder and louder. Every time the abyss monster took a step, the ground would shake once. Even small grains of sand would be shaken several meters into the air. The dust quickly surged up and whistled up. From a distance, the entire purple sun star seemed to be covered with a layer of yellow clouds. "It's coming. Everyone get ready." Han Xing, can you release your big move again? Qian Su asked. "Boss, don't worry. Even if I die, I will release it again." Han Xing nodded heavily. "Okay." Qian Su looked back at the two polar guardians. "You have to protect Han Xing later." "Boss, don't worry." The two polar guardians nodded heavily. "Miss Xiaolan." Qian Su looked at the Flower Fairy with a dignified face. "You are responsible for protecting me later, okay?" "Miss Qian Su, don't worry. As long as I still have a breath, I will not let you get hurt." The Flower Fairy nodded. After arranging everything, Qiansu looked forward with a dignified face. Boom! The loud noise was getting closer and closer. It was like an earth-shattering roar, making people uncomfortable all over. After a while, in the distant sky, like an elephant's leg, a giant foot stretched down from a void, aimed at the great demon mountain, and stepped down. The size of the giant foot covered half of the great demon mountain. Like a huge cloud, it blasted down. Boom, a loud noise. The world trembled. The continuous great demon mountain was directly flattened under the giant foot that covered the sky. Swish! The shock waves spread out from the gap of the giant foot. Bang! Wherever it went, the earth cracked and the mountains collapsed. Countless boulders mixed with debris, like cannonballs, quickly fell towards Sun Hao's residence. Boom! Boom! The shield above Sun Hao's residence kept twisting and changing. It seemed as if it would collapse at any moment. Swish! The sky suddenly lit up with two dazzling red lights. The red light was like a torch as it shot down and swept across Qiansu and the others. Instantly, buzz, as if their minds were struck by a heavy blow, the five of them trembled and lost their balance, causing them to fall to the ground. A terrifying pressure pressed down on them like a huge mountain. They struggled for a long time, but were unable to stand up. Even the appearance of this abyssal monster could not be seen clearly. Is this the pressure of a sage? This is too terrifying. Boss, my power seems to have been sealed. I can't use it at all. Don't say anymore. I'm done for. Qiansu wore a bitter expression as she shook her head. We are incompetent and can't protect the young master's residence. AI. The flower fairy used all her strength and couldn't raise her head. Young master, I'm sorry. I've let you down. The flower fairy's face was full of tears. Young master, if there's an afterlife, I'm willing to be a little maid beside you and follow you forever. Qiansu muttered to herself, thinking of the scene when Sun Hao saved her in the Shadow Realm. Her face was filled with a happy smile. You ants, how dare you kill my general? Go to hell for me. Above the void, there was a burst of tremors, shocking the entire earth, trembling. A giant foot that covered the sky blasted down from the sky. The terrifying pressure poured down like the Milky Way. Bang! At the moment when the pressure whistled down, the great formation above the residence instantly collapsed. Kacha, above the Tai Chi Divine Tower, a cracking sound rang out. As the pressure descended, the cracking sound became more and more intense. Boom! The entire Tai Chi Divine Tower burst apart. You overestimate yourself. You can't even withstand a single blow. With this little formation, you want to stop me? A contemptuous voice came from the void and clearly reached the ears of Qiansu and the others. Qiansu and the others opened their mouths and couldn't say a word. The pressure continued to descend, and soon it fell on the main hall. Boom! Without any accident, the entire main hall collapsed into powder. The pressure was like a tsunami, and in an instant, it pressed on the five people. Kacha, Qiansu, and the others could clearly sense that their bodies were on the verge of collapse. The next second, it was the time when their consciousness collapsed and their bodies split. Young master, goodbye. They muttered to themselves, closed their eyes, and waited for death. However, after waiting for a while, they did not sense the collapse of their consciousness. Is he already dead? Qiansu could sense that her body could move. She struggled to stand up and looked around with a confused face. She saw, around her body, there was a cloud of dust, chaotic and hazy, and it was impossible to see clearly. Han Xing and the others were still lying on the ground, motionless. Han Xing, why are you lying on the ground? We are all dead. This should be hell. Qiansu's voice awakened Han Xing and the others. They stood up and looked at their surroundings in confusion. This is hell. It's so similar to reality. Yeah, I thought we were still alive. Don't joke. How can we resist such a terrifying saint's blow? They talked for a while and were about to take a step forward. At this time, look, a cry of alarm sounded. Hearing this, Qiansu and the others were puzzled, and they all stared at the flower fairy. Miss Yaolan, what's wrong? Su asked. Look above. The flower fairy pointed to the sky and exclaimed. Above? With doubts, Su looked up, and her pupils shrank, and her face changed dramatically. She saw a giant foot covering the world was fixed in the void. Above the giant foot, there were two sun-like eyes. A huge head shaped like an elephant head covering the entire world. In the eyes of the giant elephant, there was a look of panic. His two eyes stared directly at a man in white not far in front of him. Young master? Su and the flower fairy spoke in unison. The shock and gratitude in their eyes were indescribable. It seems that we are not dead. The young master has come to save us. Young master, you called me again. How can Xiaolan repay you in this life? Su and the flower fairy's faces were full of gratitude. Two lines of tears from the corners of their eyes fell to the ground, but they didn't know it at all. Chapter 558. Sun Hao, dressed in white, stood in front of an indescribable giant elephant and looked at it calmly. At this moment, the giant elephant's expression was twisted and its muscles were taut, as if it was struggling with all its might. Who are you? What do you want? The elephant spoke in the human language, its voice trembling with fear. It doesn't matter who I am. Sun Hao stepped out. Buzz, heaven and earth shook. A terrifying pressure engulfed the giant elephant. Plop! The giant elephant's body was unstable, crawling directly in front of Sun Hao, shivering. Boom! A terrifying shockwave, carrying with it the power to tear everything apart, howled in all directions. He plunged straight to the ground. When Han Xing felt this chi rush over, his expression changed dramatically. He knew that the situation was not good. Boss, run. However, Su and the flower fairy were like wooden stakes, their eyes fixed on Sun Hao. An indescribable peace appeared on their faces. Soon, the chi wave was about to hit them. At this moment, phew, Sun Hao's eyes swept over. The roaring airwaves in all directions instantly disintegrated. Silence returned to the surroundings. Han Xing secretly wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, thinking that it was a close call. When he saw Sun Hao, he showed an apologetic look. With young master here, I actually have to worry about my own safety? Sigh. Han Xing sighed heavily. Buzz, another tremor sounded in the sky. The indescribable giant elephant was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, it turned into a mini version of a small elephant and crawled in front of Sun Hao. A mere half-saint dares to act impudently in my territory? Speak. Who ordered you to do this? Sun Hao's voice was cold, and the killing intent on his face was not concealed at all. The elephant opened its mouth, unable to utter a single word. A burst of wild laughter resounded throughout the world. Brat, don't be so arrogant. When the Lord revives, it will be the time of your deaths. You guys, don't get too full of yourself. I can't be killed. After saying that, the elephant's body rapidly expanded. Boom! With a loud bang, the giant elephant's body exploded and it died on the spot. Trying to escape? Sensing the soul that was running away, Sun Hao stretched out his palm and grabbed forward. Squeak! The soul of the giant elephant struggled wildly in Sun Hao's hands, making a burst of strange cries. The terrifying force made Sun Hao's palm buzz. For a moment, it was impossible to suppress it. Phew! Like a slippery loach, he disappeared completely in an instant. It seems that with my current ability, I still can't stop them from resurrecting. Sun Hao muttered to himself. His divine sense swept and enveloped the entire purple sun star. Sensing the abyssal monsters everywhere on the purple sun star, he couldn't help but roar in anger. As for the rest of you, go to hell. Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed in front of the other party. Buzz, a wave of air, centered on Sun Hao's finger, spread rapidly around. Howl! The abyss monsters let out miserable wails. Their bodies exploded uncontrollably, and they died tragically on the spot. The green blood formed a blood mist that enveloped the entire violet sun star. The entire purple sun star seemed to be covered in a thick layer of green mist. Disperse. His words were the law. All the blood disappeared. Kacha! Even the dust in the sky dissipated. The sunlight was like silk, sprinkling down on the violet sunstar. It was still sunny. The earth was the same as before. All the corpses and traces of fighting on the ground disappeared. Even Sun Hao's residence was restored to its original state. It seemed that there was no change in the entire violet sunstar. How? On the violet sunstar, there were still bursts of roars coming from the various abyss entrances. Seal for me. Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed it forward. All the abyss entrances slowly closed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The earth returned to calm. After doing this, Sun Hao shook his head slightly. Withdrawing his mood, he was about to fly down. Phew! 2 figures, one on the left and one on the right, rushed straight into Sun Hao's arms. Young master, you saved me again. Xiaolan can't repay you. Young master, your kindness to Qinsu can't be paid off in this life. Let Qinsu follow you and do something for you. The 2 women revealed their true feelings, and tears flowed from their eyes. They hugged Sun Hao tightly, unwilling to let go. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao froze in place. Phew! 2 fragrant winds, one on the left and one on the right, poured into his nose. This mixed fragrance went straight into Sun Hao's nose, making his mind ripple for a while. No! Sun Hao quickly shook his head and left some thoughts behind. Miss Xiaolan, Miss Qinsu, you are too polite. Speaking of this, Sun Hao pointed to the teleportation array in the backyard. Miss Xiaolan, knowing that you are no match, why don't you go to the Buddha Kingdom? Young master, I promise you that even if I die, I will guard your residence. The flower fairy lowered her head, looking dispirited. Young master, Xiaolan is useless, and your residence was destroyed. Sun Hao patted the flower fairy's shoulder gently. Miss Xiaolan, you are so stupid. In my mind, no residence is more important than life. At any time, only survival is the most important thing, Sun Hao said. When the flower fairy and Qinsu heard this, their faces showed uncontrollable emotions. The 2 threw themselves into Sun Hao's arms and cried for a long time. Sun Hao stood blankly, letting them cry. For a long time, the 2 let go of Sun Hao and flew down with him. Greetings, young master. Han Xing and the other 2 came forward and saluted with their fists. No need to be polite. Sun Hao walked forward. You all come with me. Yes, young master. The 5 people followed behind Sun Hao and quickly walked to the backyard. Let's go to the Buddhist kingdom first. Sun Hao took a step and stepped into the teleportation array. Buzz, the scenery changed. Sun Hao and the others came to the Buddhist kingdom in an instant. Young master, Su Yiling's body trembled, and an indescribable joy enveloped her heart. With a thought, she stepped in front of Sun Hao. Greetings, young master. Miss Yiling, no need to be polite. Sun Hao nodded slightly. Young master, my master, she... Su Yiling looked around Sun Hao, and her face was gloomy. Your master's soul fragment was not found in the Xianming Sea. Sun Hao said, Young master, what's going on? Su Yiling was shocked and asked, If my guess is correct, your master's soul fragment must have fallen into the hands of the Dark Taboo. Sun Hao said, What? Su Yiling was shocked, and 2 lines of tears slipped down uncontrollably. Miss Yiling, don't worry. Since the Dark Taboo captured your master's soul fragment, it must be used to threaten me at a critical moment. In that case, she must be fine. Don't worry, I will definitely rescue her. Sun Hao's face showed a touch of firmness. Thank you, young master. Su Yiling looked at Sun Hao and was moved. Okay, go back to the main hall first and talk later. Yes, young master. Chapter 559. In a great hall in the Buddhist nation, Sun Hao sat in the main seat, looking down like a celestial emperor. There were dozens of people sitting in 2 rows behind him. These people were all familiar with Sun Hao. Among them were Su Yiling, Flower Fairy, Qinsu, Wen Rinshi. Looking at the familiar eyes, a warm current surged in Sun Hao's heart. In the past 50 years, how has everyone been? Sun Hao asked. Young master, when we were cultivating in the Buddhist nation, our strength improved by leaps and bounds. In the entire Buddhist kingdom, the weakest person has reached the god level. Now, in the entire purple sun star, apart from some stubborn old people who have been devoured by the abyssal monsters, more than 90% of the people are here. Also, many people have come from other planets. Among them, the entire dragon clan is here. Right now, the leader of the dragon clan is Long Yuejiao. Sir, do you need her to come in? When Renshir stood up and said, Not bad. Let Long Yuejiao in. Sun Hao nodded slightly. After a while, a woman dressed in a blue veil leisurely walked over. She was none other than the leader of the dragon clan, Long Yuejiao. Long Yuejiao lowered her head. Her ruddy face showed some nervousness. His heart thumped uncontrollably. I'm going to see the young master again. So nervous. Since the young master agreed to let me come, then I will also become a core member of the Evil Suppression Alliance. This feels like a dream. It doesn't feel real. Having this thought, Long Yuejiao wore a worried expression. Very soon, she walked into the hall. Zhang Xian swept his gaze across the room. He just happened to stare at Mu Bing. They saw. Mu Bing was also wearing a long blue dress, which was similar in style and appearance to her own. We've bumped into each other again. What bad luck. The two of them looked at each other, snorted coldly, and ignored him. Greetings, young master. Arriving in front of Sun Hao, Long Yuejiao knelt on Sun Hao without any hesitation. His every movement was extremely respectful. At the same time, he had the aura of a king. With one look, one could tell that he was a highly educated person. No need to be so polite. Sun Hao nodded slightly. Many thanks, young master. Long Yuejiao retreated and stood among the crowd. Sun Hao glanced around and frowned slightly. He found that Ning Mingji and others were not there. He asked Ning Mingji to take care of the Buddhist kingdom, but he didn't come to see him. Could it be that he was busy and wasn't here? With this in mind, Sun Hao scanned the entire Buddhist kingdom with his divine sense. After a while, he retracted his divine sense, and a solemn look appeared on his face. He found that it was not only Ning Mingji who was not there. Moreover, his 4 disciples were not here. In addition, Chun Daoming, the 2 Azure Saints, the 2 Cherry Blossom Demons, and Ingyu were also not there. Chun Daoming should still be in the Spring of Sin and had not returned. As for the Azure Saints and Ingyu, he had met them in the Shadow Realm last time. Where are they now? More importantly, Sun Hao found that none of the monsters in the entire Demon Ancestral Mountain had been seen. He had promised Huang Rumeng to protect them. Now, how was he going to explain to Huang Rumeng? Thinking of these troubles, Sun Hao's heart revealed a sense of powerlessness. At this moment, he felt as if a heavy mountain was pressing down on him, and his breathing became uneven. Withdrawing his mood, Sun Hao looked at Renshir and asked, Who is in charge of the Buddhist kingdom now? Young master, it's me. Renshir showed a touch of embarrassment. 40 years ago, Master Mingwu led 4 disciples and went to the Demon Ancestral Realm, saying that he was going to get something back. So, let me take charge of the entire Buddhist kingdom. Now that the young master is back, everything will be handed back to the young master. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded slightly. His divine sense scanned the Buddhist kingdom and found that everything was in order, and he couldn't help but be secretly surprised. This Renshir was worthy of being the dean of the Supreme Court before, and he was still very good at managing. It seemed that Ning Mingji's vision was not bad. No, you continue to be in charge. While I have to finish some things, I will go to the Heaven Realm. By the way, what happened in the Demon Ancestral Mountain? Sun Hao asked. Young master, the Demon Ancestral Mountain broke through and opened a portal 40 years ago, sucking all the demon ancestors into it. It was to know this that Master Mingwu went to the Demon Ancestral Realm. Renshir said, It's been 40 years. They haven't come out? Sun Hao asked. No, there's no news at all. Renshir nodded slightly, his face full of bitterness. Suddenly, Renshir raised his eyebrows. He seemed to think of something. With a move of his mind, he took out a jade slip from the soul space. Young master, this was left by Senior Ingyu and the others. They said that they must give it to you personally. After you read it, you will understand. Renshir said, Ingyu? Sun Hao held the jade slip and frowned slightly. His mind moved. Buzz, a shock sounded. A message emerged in Sun Hao's mind. Young master, we will go to the ancestral demon realm first. If we don't come out after 20 years, you must not come to us. Because at that time, I'm afraid our souls will be gone. Young master, the ancestral demon realm is far from as simple as it seems on the surface. There's a major event happening inside that will affect the future dark era. The three of us are the strongest, and only we can stop it. If we don't return in 20 years, it means we have failed. The future dark era will be extremely terrifying. You are the hope of the whole world. Remember not to enter the demon ancestral realm before breaking through to the Holy Spirit realm. Xiao Fang, and Yingyu said in turn. Every sentence sounded like thunder in Sun Hao's mind. Sun Hao frowned, showing a dignified expression. Old one, when did this be given to you? Sun Hao asked. Young master, the three seniors gave it to me 39 years ago. When Runshur said. Hearing this, Sun Hao's body trembled. This meant that 39 years had passed. Then wouldn't their souls have been gone? What he thought of Nine Heavens God Wan, Cherry Blossom Demon, and everything about himself. An inexplicable sadness welled up in his heart. Demon ancestral realm? Demon ancestral realm. Sun Hao thought seriously and couldn't make a decision for a while. In the Chaos Star region, there was a direct line waiting for him. Demon ancestral realm. There were people from the entire Demon ancestral mountain. Ning Mingji and his disciples, Nine Heavens God Wan, and Azura twin saints inside. They might be alive, or they might be dead. If he didn't go, he would feel uneasy. What should I do? For a while, Sun Hao was in a dilemma. First go to the Heaven Realm to find the Chaos Star region, get my inheritance, and then go to the Demon Ancestral Realm. It must be much simpler. By the way, Xiaofang just said the Holy Spirit Realm. Is it the realm above the Saint Realm? In this Buddha kingdom, there's my clone. I don't know how much mind power he has. Thinking like this, Sun Hao moved his mind and instantly got in touch with the clone. Sensing everything on the clone, Sun Hao sat in place stupidly, showing incredible surprise. Chapter 560. Ooh! Sun Hao's figure flashed and disappeared instantly. When he appeared again, he had already come to a certain space in the Buddha land. He looked at the clone in front of him with a surprised face. There was a space in the clone's mind. This space was full of crystals formed by the power of faith. The number was so large that it couldn't be calculated, piled up like a hill. More than 50 years, there's so much power of faith. If I devour it all, will I reach the Holy Spirit realm that Xiaofang said? Sun Hao waved his right hand, and these faith crystals flew over quickly. The faith crystals melted rapidly, forming hundreds of millions of strands of light, and quickly drilled into Sun Hao's body. Terrifying power surged all over his body. At this moment, Sun Hao could feel that his strength was skyrocketing. After a while, Kacha, the sound of the realm membrane breaking sounded. Sun Hao sensed that his entire strength had doubled. Is this the Holy Spirit realm? Strong, too strong. Sensing the surging power in his body, Sun Hao was secretly shocked. At this moment, he could confirm that he only needed one finger to destroy this Buddha land into nothingness. It was far from what he could compare with before. The power of faith is so useful. If I let all the lives in the human world believe in me, how much power of faith can I get? Sun Hao muttered to himself, and his eyes bloomed with endless light. With a flash, Sun Hao returned to the hall again. Everyone who was full of doubts, all stared at Sun Hao. Where did the young master just go? Why is he different from before after not seeing him for a moment? I feel that the young master has become stronger. There is an indescribable energy in his body. The young master's means are not what we can imagine. Becoming stronger is just something that the young master doesn't want to think about. Yes, for the young master, everything is a piece of cake. Admiring eyes all swept on Sun Hao. Everyone was like a group of soldiers obeying orders, waiting for Sun Hao to send orders. In the past few decades, everyone's strength has improved rapidly. indicating that everyone has worked hard to cultivate. However, in the face of the dark era, your strength is far from enough. Here, I tell everyone a bad news. The dark era is actually only a small disaster. The true calamity will descend soon. Sun Hao's words were like a thunderclap, causing everyone's mind to tremble. The last dark era was practically the era of the gods. Countless deities died tragically. Even the sages could not die. In the young master's mouth, this was only a small disaster. Then, what was the true catastrophe? Could it be that an existence that could destroy the entire three realms with a single finger was about to descend into the three realms? Thinking of this, many people trembled, their eyes filled with terror. Let me tell you something else. On the path of cultivation, becoming a sage is not the end, but the beginning. In the face of a true catastrophe, even a saint is as weak as a chicken, unable to withstand a single blow. If you want to survive, you must work hard and strive to surpass the sage as soon as possible. Sun Hao said, "Young master, is there any realm above the saint?" Su Yiling raised her hand and asked. "Yes, of course. There are countless realms above the sage realm. Knowing it now won't do you any good." A touch of embarrassment flashed across Sun Hao's face. How would he know how many realms there were above the sage realm? Currently, he only knew that there was still the Holy Spirit realm above the sage realm. As for what realm was above the Saint Spirit realm, he had no idea at all. In order to avoid embarrassment, it was a safe strategy to say so. Sun Hao's words shocked everyone in place, and they didn't calm down for a long time. These words opened up everyone's minds. Everyone secretly clenched their fists, showing a firm expression. "I will transform the Buddha kingdom again to ensure that you break through to the sage realm without any problem. By the way, within 10 days, many races will come to Xiang's star. If I am not here, I hope everyone will receive me. The reception will be arranged by Old One." Sun Hao looked at Wenrenshi and said, "Yes, young master." Wenrenshi nodded. "Who?" Sun Hao's figure flashed and disappeared instantly. He stood above the void of the Buddha kingdom, and his divine sense swept the entire Buddha kingdom. The entire Buddha kingdom, the spirit essence, surged for a long time. Many people sat cross-legged on the ground, working hard to cultivate. In every city of the Buddha kingdom, there was a statue of Sun Hao. Every moment, someone knelt in front of the Buddha statue, prayed, and saluted, contributing endless power of faith to Sun Hao's clone. Above Sun Hao's statue, a part of the power of faith would remain to feed back the situation and arrange it on a group of prayers. In this way, their minds would be clearer and their cultivation would be faster. Similarly, the power of faith contributed to Sun Hao is also more. This was all positive feedback. Sensing this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. It seemed that over the years, when Renshi and the others had contributed a lot, Sun Hao sat cross-legged on the ground, and with a move of his mind sank into the soul space. Seeing the scene in front of him, Sun Hao stood dumbfounded. He saw, in Sun Hao's soul space, it was filled with endless 10-colored light. Every corner, everywhere. Countless star fields had condensed and formed. Above each sun, it was blooming with 10-colored light, looking very dazzling. On many planets, it had begun to evolve. If this goes on, it won't be long before single-cell life can be carried out. Sun Hao had a feeling that the more lives in his soul space, the stronger he would be. If I integrate the Buddha kingdom directly into the soul space, will this work? Sun Hao muttered to himself, his eyes shining brightly. Since he thought so, he had to test it out. This would save trouble, and he wouldn't have to worry about them wherever he went in the future. The stronger they were, the more power of faith they would produce. At that time, it would be directly absorbed by his own soul space, and his strength would also increase. In addition, the more lives, the stronger he would be, which was equivalent to double cultivation. This kind of benefit was completely unimaginable. "Rise!" Sun Hao looked at the Buddha kingdom and shouted softly. Buzz, the entire Buddha kingdom was trembling slightly. Everyone sensed that the Buddha kingdom was slowly rising. Although the speed was slow, it could still be sensed. Yes, Sun Hao watched the Buddha kingdom moving, and the light kept shining. Under the control of his mind, the entire Buddha kingdom shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than a moment, it changed to the size of dust. Enter, the words were spoken. The Buddha kingdom turned into a rapid speed, and the whole flew into Sun Hao's soul space. Change for me. Sun Hao looked at the Buddha kingdom and swept it with a glance. Buzz, a slight tremor sounded. The Buddha kingdom grew rapidly. In less than a moment, it became the same size as before. The shape of the round sky and square earth seemed out of place with the surrounding planets. This still has to be changed. Chapter 561. Looking at the Buddhist kingdom, Sun Hao frowned slightly. This world seemed out of place compared with the planet in his soul space. This still has to be changed. Sun Hao looked at the Buddhist kingdom and shook his head slightly. Change for me. Sun Hao pointed with his right hand. The Buddhist kingdom shook slowly and closed like paper. Continents, oceans, mountains, rivers, they were all arranged in order. In the end, it formed a planet 100 times the size of Xiang's star. Under Sun Hao's control, the Buddhist kingdom began to rotate around sun. Day and night instantly enveloped the Buddhist kingdom. Endless 10-colored Saint Chi fell like rain, enveloping the entire Buddhist kingdom. At this moment, everyone was stunned in place, showing an unbelievable look. Manifested, the young master manifested. This is the sacred essence, my ancestor. The Buddhist kingdom has begun to change again. Sure enough, as long as we pray every day, the young master will hear it. I didn't expect it to be true. Cultivating in this world, becoming a saint, is completely a matter of time. Exclamations continued. Everyone's face was shining with infinite light. In a city, Jiang Zia stared blankly at this scene, and he was extremely excited. Grandmaster, your means are really unimaginable. I have transformed the entire Buddhist kingdom. I think it will be no problem for Zia to break through to the saint realm. Grandmaster, you are my lifelong role model. Jiang Zia knelt in front of Sun Hao's statue and kept praying. In another city, Yang Jian's voice trembled, and he was extremely excited. Neza and Li Jing, who were following him, were even more excited. Sacred essence, it's all sacred essence. As long as I stay for 100,000 years, I will definitely break through to the saint realm. Neza and others were extremely excited. Do you understand? Suddenly, Yang Jian's voice came. Master, what do you understand? Neza looked confused. Master, is it about joining the Evil Suppression Alliance? Li Jing asked. Yang Jian smiled mysteriously. The Tao Ancestor transformed the Buddhist kingdom and dropped the sacred essence. This is to let us work hard to cultivate and strive to reach the saint realm as soon as possible. Master, there is no need for you to say this. We also understand. Li Jing said. You guys only know one side and not the other. What do you mean? What kind of existence is a Tao Ancestor? That's an existence that can deal with the darkness taboo. I can't even imagine how strong he is. Now, he wants us to work hard and cultivate. Why is that? The two of them were confused. Why? That's because the Tao Ancestor can't deal with the future crisis alone. Therefore, he asked us to cultivate hard and strive to help the Tao Ancestor. Upon hearing that, the two of them nodded at the same time and revealed thoughtful expressions. Tao Ancestor, don't worry. I will work hard to cultivate. Li Jing nodded heavily. Tao Ancestor, me too. Then, the three of them sat in front of the statue and began to cultivate. There were 100,000 celestial soldiers who looked the same as them. Not far from them were Samantabhadra, Golden Shogun, and Arhut 108. If it could be said that they were forced to submit before, then they were now completely convinced. The power of a Tao Ancestor is simply unimaginable. Just now, I released my divine will and discovered that the entire Buddhist nation had turned into a planet. What? That was impossible, right? What kind of means is this? It's too powerful. Look, those stars in the starry sky seem to be real. Yes, the starry sky has changed. Incredible. Exclamations sounded in many cities of the Buddhist nation. When Sun Hao heard this, the corners of his mouth raised slightly, and he didn't take it seriously at all. With a move of his mind, he instantly returned to the main hall. At this moment, in the main hall, when Rinshir and others were still in a daze, it wasn't until Sun Hao snorted coldly that they woke up. "Young master, the Buddhist nation has been transformed?" When Rinshir asked. "Not bad." Sun Hao nodded slightly. "I turned the entire Buddhist nation into a planet and arranged it in my soul space. There's endless sacred qi in it, enough for you to cultivate." Sun Hao's voice, like the ninth heaven divine thunder, made everyone tremble, and cold sweat flowed. Turning a small world into a planet, this skill was simply unseen and unheard of. Unimaginable, incredible. The young master was too awesome. The light of worship swept over like a wave, and it couldn't end for a while. "Well, everything here will depend on you to take care of it. Your strength naturally can't be weak. Sit down cross-legged." Hearing this, everyone's eyes bloomed with a strange light. Without thinking about it, they all sat cross-legged on the ground. Is the young master going to play the zither again? That goes without saying. Every time I listen to the young master's song, I will break through many realms. That's great. I can break through again. Sun Hao smiled slightly. Of course not. Playing the zither only produces sacred qi. And here, there is endless sacred qi. You can absorb it at any time. This time, I want to help you improve your physical body. To what extent you can improve, it all depends on your good fortune. Sun Hao waved his right hand. One by one, the nether god crystal flew to everyone. Seeing these nether god crystals, everyone's body trembled, and the whole person was extremely excited. These are the nether god crystals that can temper your physical body. To what extent you can temper, it depends on your endurance. To what extent you can temper, it depends on your endurance. Sun Hao's voice, like thunder, blasted in everyone's mind. Everyone sank their hearts and remained motionless. The nether god crystal melted rapidly, turning into strands of green silk, sprinkling down like rain, pouring into everyone's body. Pain, extreme pain, surged throughout their body. The flesh and blood on their original body were melting rapidly. The more damaged the physical body is, the more it will come in the future. If you can give up all of it, the condensed physical body will not be weaker than a middle-grade sacred weapon. After only the skeleton is left, first temper the skeleton, then condense the heart. Meridians, Sun Hao's voice, sentence by sentence, came into everyone's ears. They who could not persevere, let the pain envelop their whole body. The flesh melted completely, and it was endless. In the end, only a pair of skeletons appeared in front of Sun Hao. The green thread wrapped around their skeletons, rapidly transforming their bones. The originally white bones were crystal clear, emitting a gem-like luster. After the bone tempering was completed, they then began to condense the physical body. Every step was according to Sun Hao's guidance. Heart, meridians, flesh and blood, 5 internal organs, skin. Every step was done in an orderly and slow manner. After a while, Sun Hao's gaze swept, showing a surprised expression. Chapter 562. In front of Sun Hao, there was a white flower. The man's muscles were knotted, bronze in color, emitting a metallic luster. It looked indestructible. On the woman's body, her skin was like congealed fat, and her body was covered with a faint layer of luster. She was so beautiful. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao's face showed a touch of embarrassment. With a wave of his right hand, a barrier isolated everyone individually, and no one could see others. My physical body is too strong. I have a feeling that I can smash the planet with one punch. I'm afraid that even if the sacred weapon hits me, it won't have any reaction. Now, even if the saint attacks me, I'm afraid I won't suffer. Thank you, young master, for all this. Excited voices kept ringing. It took them a long time to calm down. When they saw the barrier around them, they showed a touched look. Young master is so thoughtful. In order to prevent embarrassment, he even set up a barrier. Su Yiling muttered to herself. The corners of her mouth raised, revealing 2 shallow dimples, and her smile was like a flower. She took out her clothes and was about to put them on. At this time, Buzz, there was a shock. A piece of clothing penetrated the barrier and flew in front of Su Yiling. Seeing this piece of clothing, Su Yiling's pupils shrank, showing a look of shock. This is a high-grade, no, a top-grade sacred weapon. Young master, this is? Su Yiling held the clothes, and the light kept shining. This is a set of clothes I gave everyone. You can put on. This sentence was like a sound of nature in her mind. Su Yiling held the clothes, showing a touch of emotion on her face. Moved tears brewed in her eyes. Young master, you're so kind to us, Yiling can't repay you. Su Yiling muttered to herself, moved to a mess. The expressions on other people's faces were even worse than Su Yiling's. The next step is to temper the soul. Get ready. Sun Hao finished speaking. Buzz, waves of saintly might surge down, surrounding the entire hall. The terrifying holy power poured down. It wrapped everyone. Everyone's soul, wrapped in this pure soul power, quickly became stronger. A few hours later, thank you, young master. Their orderly voices caused the entire hall to buzz and tremble. I'll fuse the Buddhist kingdom into my soul space. There is endless Saint Chi in here. If you want to leave, you can use the teleportation formation that I have set up in the various cities of the Buddhist nation. Next, I need to make a trip to the heavenly realm. It's impossible to estimate how long it will take. Sun Hao looked at everyone and said, Young master, I will accompany you. Su Yiling stood up and raised her hand high. Sun Hao smiled and shook his head. No, you can't stay here and cultivate hard. When I return, I should have the ability to set up the resurrection array. At that time, we can fight to the death with the abyssal monsters. Before that, what you need to do is to train hard. The array I set up in the purple sunstar can only stop the abyssal monsters for a few decades. When they break through the formation and come out again, there will definitely be saint-tier monsters. Those who become sages can fight with these abyssal monsters to train themselves. Sun Hao said word by word, saying all his inner thoughts. Everyone listened attentively with a serious look on their faces. Everyone nodded frequently, deeply agreeing with Sun Hao's idea. Sun Hao waved his right hand, and a teleportation array appeared out of thin air in the corner of the hall. This teleportation array leads to the purple sun star region. Old one, they already have someone here. Please take someone to receive them. Arrange them here. As for which life planet to live on, it's all up to you. Miss Mu Bing, Miss Xin Yuan, Miss Xiaolan, please help me. Sun Hao looked at the crowd in the hall and said, Yes, young master. Okay, I have something to do. I will leave first. After speaking, Sun Hao's figure flashed and disappeared instantly. When he appeared again, he had already arrived in a certain city. The position where he stood happened to appear in front of the statue. He looked at Jiang Zia, who was sitting cross-legged in front of the statue, and the corner of his mouth raised slightly. Jiang Zia. A roar came into Jiang Zia's ears. This sound shocked Jiang Zia's body, and he opened his eyes with a face full of doubts. Who was calling this old man? Jiang Zia looked up, and his pupils shrank, and his face changed greatly. His body trembled slightly with excitement, and his eyes of worship were fixed on Sun Hao. Grandmaster, sure enough, you are back. Grandmaster, please accept this disciple's worship. Jiang Zia kept kowtowing and saluting Sun Hao. Okay, you come with me first. Sun Hao waved his right hand and disappeared with Jiang Zia in an instant. When they appeared again, they were already over the purple sunstar. Grandmaster, what can I do for you to order me? Jiang Zia asked. I want to go to the heavenly realm, and I need you to lead the way. Sun Hao said, Grandmaster, this kind of small matter, leave it to me. Jiang Zia patted his chest and promised. Where can I enter the heavenly realm? You point the direction, and I will take you there. Sun Hao said, Grandmaster, there's only one way to go to the heavenly realm, and that is the heavenly road. The heavenly road is located in the heavenly power star region. As soon as Jiang Zia finished speaking, he was enveloped by a force. Buzz, with a flash of light, he disappeared instantly. When he appeared again, he had already arrived at a certain star region. Jiang Zia's eyes widened, and his face was shocked. Grandmaster's means this is too terrifying. When I become a saint, can I have half of Grandmaster's means? Jiangxia muttered to himself, with a look of expectation. Is it here? Sun Hao asked. This sound awakened Jiangxia, and he glanced around. After pinching his fingers, he showed a dignified face. It's obviously here. Why did the heavenly road disappear? Jiangxia looked ahead and muttered to himself. Who controls the heavenly road? Sun Hao asked. Grandmaster, the heavenly road is naturally controlled by the people of the heavenly emperor. Jiangxia said. Heavenly emperor? Sun Hao showed a sneer at the corner of his mouth. It seems that the heavenly emperor already knows everything and doesn't want me to go to the heavenly realm. Impossible. Jiangxia shook his head for a while. The heavenly emperor often misses you, and he usually talks about your story. People change, Yi Zichen said. Sun Hao's eyes were dignified, looking at Jiangxia. Is there any other way? Yes, of course there is. I have a break boundary talisman that can directly lead to the heavenly realm. Speaking of this, Jiangxia took out a break boundary talisman. Who? With a move of his mind, the break boundary talisman nodded instantly. Buzz! A beam of light went straight into the void and burst open instantly. In the next second, Jiangxia's face changed drastically, and he kept shaking his head, unwilling to believe everything in front of him. Chapter 563. Phew! The talisman burned and turned into a ray of light that flew into the sky. Buzz! There was a tremor. In the void, a layer of golden barrier appeared, tearing the light of the talisman into pieces. Soon, the surroundings returned to normal. Jiangxia's expression changed drastically as he looked at the golden shield that flashed across the sky. This is the Jinyu Bell. Heaven Emperor is isolating the entire heaven realm and doesn't want others to enter. Jiangxia said. Jinyu Bell. Sun Hao frowned. Grandmaster, the Jinyuan Bell is the most powerful magic treasure the Celestial Emperor has. It's a connate sacred treasure, Jiangxia introduced. Hearing this, Sun Hao was even more puzzled. He had heard of primordial numinous treasures, but what were primordial sacred treasures? What's the difference between this and an innate spiritual treasure? Sun Hao asked. Grandmaster, connate numinous treasures are the same as connate sacred treasures. They are Dharma treasures naturally born from the heavenly Tao. However, primordial spiritual treasures are only at the level of sage artifacts at most, while primordial holy artifacts are above sage artifacts. Jiangxi's words suppressed Sun Hao in place, and it took a long time for him to calm down. Above sacred artifacts, there were actually magic treasures. In that case, the strength of the heavenly emperor was probably far from simple. Let me try. Sun Hao stretched out his palm, mobilized all his strength, aimed at the front, and blasted out a finger. Buzz, the void trembled. A golden light shield slowly emerged again, wiping out all of Sun Hao's power. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao's face changed slightly. His all-out attack actually had no effect at all. From the looks of it, it was basically impossible to go to the heaven realm. Damn it, Sun Hao secretly cursed. Since they were trying so hard to stop him, it was obvious that they didn't want him to go to the Chaos Galaxy. He didn't want to get some straight faces. Was there no other way to go to the heaven realm? Jiangxia, you have lived in the heavenly realm for a long time. Do you know any other way to go to the heavenly realm? Sun Hao asked. To the heaven realm? Jiangxia furrowed his brows and fell into deep thought. Suddenly, his eyebrows twitched as if he had thought of something. Grandmaster, 10,000 years ago, the old lord was trapped in a small world. Later on, he went to the heaven realm through that small world. That small world seems to be called the demon ancestral realm. However, it's extremely dangerous inside. Even the Grand Supreme Elder was seriously injured and his Tao heart was damaged. I'm still recovering, Jiangxia said. Hearing this, Sun Hao frowned slightly. It seemed that they were forcing him to go to the demon ancestral realm. Old Lord Taishang had long broken through to the sage realm, but he was seriously injured in the Fey ancestral realm, and his Tao heart was damaged. The demon ancestor realm was not as simple as it seemed. What realm was the Grand Supreme Elder at that time? Sun Hao asked. Back then, the Old Lord was at the 5th level of the Saint realm. Jiang Zia said. Hearing this, Sun Hao frowned. The Saint realm was also divided into different realms. Was he at the Saint realm or the Saint Spirit realm? Young master, you must not enter the demon ancestral realm without reaching the Holy Spirit realm. Xiao Fang's words were still lingering in his heart. I must enter the demon ancestral realm. However, I have to be careful. I still need to make some preparations, just in case. Sun Hao muttered to himself and secretly made a decision. Grandmaster, I'm really sorry. I can't bring you to the heaven realm. Jiang Zia looked at Sun Hao with an apologetic expression. I'm fine. Sun Hao took Jiang Zia, and his figure flashed and returned to the soul space. You cultivate well and strive to break through to the Saint realm as soon as possible. Sun Hao said, Grandmaster, I will. Jiang Zia nodded heavily. Who? Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed at Jiang Zia's eyebrows. He only felt dizzy, and Jiang Zia returned to the statue in the city again. Was it a dream to meet Grandmaster just now? Jiang Zia scratched his head, his face full of doubts. Then, he closed his eyes again and began to cultivate. Seeing Jiang Zia's expression, Sun Hao smiled slightly. Suddenly, his face changed slightly. They're here. His figure flashed and disappeared in place instantly. Outside the purple sunstar in a starry sky. Buzz! With a flash of light, a huge flying boat flew out of the transparent ripples. Inside the flying boat, it was full of people. These people were all people of the Goblin Clan. Many people of the Goblin Clan showed a very reluctant expression on their faces. What's the point of traveling so far to that broken purple sunstar? Didn't Her Majesty the Queen issue a decree? Young Master Sun, how will help us break through to the God Emperor realm? TCH, I don't believe it. How can there be such a person in this world? Yes, reaching the God Emperor realm in one day. How can there be such a ridiculous thing? Haven't you heard? Facing the abyss monster, Her Majesty the Queen almost died, and on Heavenly Charmstar, everyone died tragically. Later, young Master Sun Hao came and resurrected everyone. Resurrection? Impossible. How can there be such a heaven-defying technique in this world? Let alone resurrecting millions of people, even resurrecting one person can't be done, right? The voice of doubt resounded in many immortal boats. Xuanmei heard this, smiled slightly, and didn't take it to heart at all. Beside her, her mother clenched her fists, showing an angry expression. Rebellious, rebellious, my goblin clan is actually such a villain. We must kill one to warn others. Xuanmei smiled and walked forward. Mother, you don't have to be angry. When you see young master later, they will naturally shut up. I will listen to you. Xuanmei's mother nodded slightly. Buzz! Suddenly there was a shock. A figure appeared in front of the two of them in an instant. Xuanmei looked startled, and her eyes bloomed with a bright face. Young master. Without any hesitation, Xuanmei quickly rushed into Sun Hao's arms. Mayor, are you all going well? Sun Hao hugged Xuanmei lightly and asked softly, Young master, we are still going well. With my order, no one dares to disobey. The 1 billion people of the Goblin Clan are all here. Xuanmei said. Sun Hao's divine sense swept over all the flying boats. After seeing many people on the flying boat full of complaints, the corner of Sun Hao's mouth raised slightly. Young master, I'm really sorry they're complaining. Xuanmei said. It's okay. You give such a direct order. Even I won't believe it. It's already very good that you can bring them here. I will take you to my star field. Sun Hao said. Your star field? Xuanmei looked puzzled. It should be said that my soul space has now evolved into a universe. Sun Hao said. This sentence suppressed the two of them in place, and they didn't calm down for a long time. Ordinary people's soul space had 1,000 cubic meters, and it was already outstanding talent. Young Master's soul space actually evolved into a universe? Didn't it mean that it was endless, and there was no way to imagine it? Hiss, the two of them took a breath of cold air. In the next second, the two of them were even more shocked, and they couldn't calm down for a long time. Chapter 564. Buzz. With a flash of light, all the fairy boats instantly disappeared. When they reappeared, they were all above a planet. When looked at from afar, it was like 1,000,000 immortal boats had charged forward, and it caused one's heart to tremble. Phew! Sun Hao waved his right hand, and everyone's bodies flew out uncontrollably and fell over the planet. They were densely packed and stood in the sky. When they saw the scene in front of them, they were dumbfounded. They opened their mouths wide and mumbled for a long time, unable to react. Even Shui Mei was extremely shocked at this moment. Young master, this is... She opened her mouth wide and mumbled for a long time, but she couldn't say a complete sentence. Shui Mei could confirm that this Saint Chi was exactly the same as the one her young master had produced when he played the zither. Above this giant planet, the Saint Chi here seemed to be endless, not continuous at all. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that there was so much Saint Origin Chi on a planet. Mayer, from now on, you will live on this planet. Are you satisfied? Sun Hao's voice woke Shui Mei up like thunder. She opened her mouth and revealed a touched expression. Young master, thank you. She threw herself into Sun Hao's arms and hugged him tightly like a little girl. Mayer, there's no need to be polite. You can arrange it, Sun Hao said. Shui Mei nodded slightly and broke free from Sun Hao's arms. She took a step forward, causing the entire sky to rumble. The people of the succubus race, who were originally in a daze, instantly woke up. Everyone's gaze was fixed on Shui Mei. Greetings, Your Majesty. Their voices resounded throughout the world. Did everyone see that? This is young Master Sun Hao. This planet is where young Master Sun Hao gave us to live. This place is very safe. There are no abyssal monsters attacking. There is also an endless supply of Saint Chi that will allow everyone to advance by leaps and bounds. Now, who is dissatisfied with young Master Sun Hao? You can stand up. This king promises to send him back. Shui Mei's leisurely voice reached everyone's ears clearly. These words were like silver needles that pierced into the hearts of many people. Many people lowered their heads in shame. The entire scene was extremely quiet. No one was willing to leave. Looks like they're all quite satisfied. If that's the case, do you still need this king to tell you what to do? Shui Mei's voice woke everyone up. They nodded and knelt down without any hesitation. Thank you for taking us in, young master. Don't worry, young master. I will work hard to cultivate. Young master, I will never forget your great kindness. How dare I doubt you? I deserve to be hacked into pieces. The entire scene was in chaos, like a pot of porridge. Sun Hao waved his hand gently, and the surroundings gradually became quiet. Don't stand on ceremony. Gathering everyone together was to avoid the abyssal monsters. Secondly, it is convenient for everyone to break through to the Saint Realm. The Dark Age has already begun, and the abyssal monsters are already wreaking havoc in the human world. The only thing I can do is to reduce everyone's casualties. If you don't believe me and refuse to come here no matter what, then there's nothing I can do. Sun Hao said one sentence at a time, and every sentence made everyone's heart tremble. They listened quietly and nodded from time to time. They didn't react until Sun Hao disappeared. The young master is so broad-minded that he can accept everything. I actually doubted such a person. I'm simply asking for a beating. Fortunately, young master doesn't mind. Otherwise, I will regret it for the rest of my life. The voice of self-blame kept ringing. Sun Hao was like a god in everyone's mind, infinitely elevated. At this moment, the 1 billion people of the Goblin clan no longer doubted. Shui Mei looked at this scene, smiled, and nodded. When the scene was quiet, she took a step forward and said, Bin Wang announces that we will now begin to build our home. Duo go. Shui Mei shouted. This general is here. You are responsible for the construction. Bin Wang only has one request. In the center of each city, there must be a statue of young master. Do you understand what Bin Wang means? Your Majesty, rest assured, I promise to complete the task. Under the arrangement of Duo Go, 1 billion goblin clan flew down in an orderly manner. They began to build their own homes on the planet, and scenes like this were staged everywhere in Sun Hao's soul space. From time to time, someone brought in the myriad races and arranged them on different life planets. After finding the habitat, each race built their own. Different races, different buildings. The only thing in common was that Sun Hao's statue would be built in each city. At this moment, Sun Hao became the god in the hearts of the myriad races. Somewhere in Sun Hao's soul space, Song Yu stood in front of Sun Hao with tens of thousands of dark knights, showing a respectful expression. Young master, this general did not disgrace the order and brought the myriad races. But Song Yu wanted to say something, but stopped. Xiao Yu, in front of me, don't be restrained. Say what you have to say. Sun Hao said, Young master, there are still nearly 80% of lives do not believe us and did not come. Those who can come are the lives we saved. I also admire you very much. Song Yu said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded slightly. There were still 80% of lives in the human world. How could he let them go so easily? This was the endless power of faith. Thinking of this, Sun Hao made a decision. Xiao Yu, next, I have an extremely important task to give you. Sun Hao said. Hearing this, Song Yu's body trembled, and her face showed incomparable excitement. Young master, please say it. Although they don't believe it, they're also lives, and they can't be devoured by the abyss monsters. In the following days when I am not here, you will lead a group of sisters to wander around the universe and save them when the abyss monsters attack. In this case, they will definitely come here. I will let Old One support you with all his strength. What do you think? Sun Hao said, Young master, don't worry. I promise to complete the task. All the creatures in the human world will definitely come here. By the way, where are you going, young master? Song Yu asked. I'm going to the ancestral monster realm, and I don't know when I can return. However, I think my consciousness can enter here at any time and meet you. Sun Hao said, Young master, then you have to be careful. Song Yu said, You can rest assured that I have my own plans. I'll go find Old One first. You guys go ahead. After speaking, Sun Hao's figure disappeared in place. Looking at Sun Hao's disappearing figure, Song Yu's face changed. Young master, my life was saved by you. I will definitely complete what you arranged. Speaking to this point, Song Yu gradually became dignified, looking like a great general. Chapter 565. Purple Sunstar, Demon Ancestor Mountain, center of the Demon Burial Mountain Range. A teleportation gate was faintly discernible, as though it would disappear at any moment. On this day, with a flash of light, Sun Hao instantly stood in front of the teleportation door. Looking at this teleportation array, Sun Hao's face was solemn. He had no idea what was on the other side of the teleportation array. Everything was unknown. If he was not careful, he might die. Recover. Sun Hao pointed at it, and the teleportation light gate became brighter and more stable. Without hesitation, Sun Hao strode forward, and his body instantly disappeared in the teleportation light gate. After he disappeared, the entire portal disappeared without a trace. Buzz! The scenery changed, and Sun Hao landed on the ground. Sun Hao looked at the endless forest in front of him, and his whole person stood in place. Let's see what's around us first. Sun Hao murmured. When he was about to release his divine sense, his scalp suddenly exploded, and his whole body trembled uncontrollably. Sun Hao reacted extremely quickly and quickly converged his aura. At this moment, he was like a rock standing on the ground, undetectable. A terrifying divine will swept across the area. Without stopping on Sun Hao's body, he quickly left. Sun Hao stood in place, motionless. He waited for a long time before he stood up. His face revealed the joy of surviving a calamity. That divine sense just now was far stronger than him. Facing the owner of the divine sense, there was only one outcome, and that was death. This demon ancestral realm is indeed not simple. I must hide my strength. Sun Hao secretly made a decision. Now, there were hundreds of billions of living beings in his soul space. As long as they settled down and prayed to him every day, The power of faith they received would continuously increase his strength. The best plan was to wait until he had the ability to deal with the owner of this divine sense, and then stand out. It should be safe now. After waiting for a while, he did not see the divine sense sweep, which made Sun Hao relax. He was really lucky to have encountered a monster's spiritual sense scan the moment he arrived. Otherwise, if he released his immortal will and scanned the entire demon ancestral realm, it would definitely attract the attention of the owner of the immortal will. At that time, the consequences would be unimaginable. Let's find a demon first and figure out everything about the Fey ancestral realm. Sun Hao took a step and ran in the forest. He hid his aura and sprinted like an ordinary cheetah. Not long after, Sun Hao hid in the jungle. Looking ahead, his face full of doubts. Human. They saw. In the middle of the forest, there was a path. On the main road, a man in silver armor was running at high speed. From time to time, he would look around with an extremely cautious expression on his face. No, he's not a human, but a demon that has taken human form. Let me see what race you are. Sun Hao's mind swept, and the light flashed in his eyes. The body of the silver-armored man was clearly reflected in Sun Hao's eyes. Quiet Wolf Tribe? This is an ancient demon clan. I didn't expect to encounter such a clan as soon as I entered the demon ancestral realm. If that's the case, I'll turn into a demon wolf. Sun Hao thought secretly, and his mind moved. Buzz, with a flash of light, a demon crystal formed in his mind. This demon crystal possessed the strength of a god king. If a member of the demon race used a secret technique, they would be able to see that they were a member of the demon race, while their true form was that of a spirit wolf. Next, I can only use the power of the demon crystal. This way, we won't be discovered. Sun Hao murmured, and with a move of his mind, his appearance changed rapidly, turning into an ordinary-looking man. Tap, tap. Sun Hao stepped forward and walked directly on the tree-lined avenue. The temperament of his whole body also changed dramatically, turning into a man in a hurry. Not long after, tap, tap, a rush of footsteps sounded. Several men and women, like a whirlwind, hurried past Sun Hao. From beginning to end, they didn't look at Sun Hao as if he was transparent. That look, it seemed that there was something urgent waiting for them. Along the way, Sun Hao encountered many men and women in a hurry, coming and going, not paying much attention to Sun Hao. Everyone seemed to be busy with their own things. In order to cause unnecessary trouble, Sun Hao couldn't disturb them. It was not good to ask too many questions. Suddenly, Sun Hao's pupils shrank slightly. Looking at a team dressed as a caravan in front of him, the corner of his mouth raised a faint smile. This caravan was composed of 8 men and 2 women, and the leader turned out to be a woman. She looked a little pretty. Sun Hao's gaze swept, and the woman's body was clearly imprinted in his eyes. Captain, we're about to enter the dangerous area. We must keep up our spirits. And you're right. The pretty woman nodded, showing a touch of sadness on her face. With just a few of us, in case we encounter mountain bandits, it's not enough. Captain, let's recruit a few more powerful masters so that we can ensure that nothing goes wrong. No. The pretty woman shook her head slightly. We are just a small caravan. We can't afford to hire a big shot. How about hiring 2 superior gods? We can't afford to hire them. The pretty woman sighed again and again, looking dispirited. Even if it was far enough, these words clearly reached Sun Hao's ears. When he heard this, he nodded secretly. There seemed to be an aura of the Divine King realm rushing out from his body. If you don't look carefully, you can't detect it at all. Sun Hao remained calm and indifferently walked past the pretty woman. The moment Sun Hao walked past, the pretty woman's face changed slightly, looking at Sun Hao's back with a face full of doubts. Captain, look, that hothead actually wants to walk through the Demon Ravine Canyon alone. Yeah, at first glance, he is a person who has never seen the world. Maybe he is strong enough to break through the Demon Ravine Canyon. That's true, but it is impossible to break through this Demon Ravine Canyon without reaching the Divine King realm. The pretty woman listened to the discussion of her subordinates, and her eyes couldn't help but show a glimmer of light. Divine King realm? By the way, he is the Divine King. This inconspicuous guy is really the divine king? The pretty woman muttered to herself, looking at Sun Hao with eyes full of doubts. She secretly used a secret technique to sweep Sun Hao. When she saw Sun Hao's body, the pretty woman covered her mouth with her hand and didn't dare to make sound. After some hesitation, the pretty woman summoned up her courage and went straight to Sun Hao. "This warrior wait," the pretty woman shouted. Hearing this, Sun Hao's eyes flashed a sly look. He turned around, exuding a cold, killing intent. "What's the matter?" This stare made the pretty woman breathe quickly, and her expression kept changing. After taking a few deep breaths, she said, "Warrior, do you want to break through the Demon Ravine Canyon alone?" Chapter 566. Otherwise, Sun Hao's voice was cold and emotionless. "Warrior, this Demon Canyon is extremely dangerous. If you're not careful, you may die on the spot. How about this? We team up and enter inside, so that we could take care of each other. What do you think?" The pretty woman was careful, for fear of angering Sun Hao. "I don't know you. Why should I team up with you? What's in it for me?" Sun Hao's voice was cold, and without any hesitation, he turned around and walked toward the Demon Canyon. Hearing this, the pretty woman not only did not get angry, but on the contrary, her face showed a touch of joy. "Warrior, wait. First time unfamiliar, second time familiar. Everyone starts from strangers. Don't you think so?" the pretty woman said. Sun Hao stopped and looked back at the pretty woman, showing a thoughtful look. "You're right, but I don't have any benefits. Why should I team up with you? You don't want me to be a free bodyguard, do you?" Sun Hao directly pierced the pretty woman's inner thoughts and hit the nail on the head. The pretty woman looked startled and showed an awkward smile. "Warrior, of course there are benefits. As long as you team up with us, when we arrive at Long City, I will give you 10 demon essence crystals. What do you think?" The pretty woman gritted her teeth and seemed to have made an extremely difficult decision. Sun Hao held his chin with his hand, showing a thoughtful look. 10 demon essence crystals? No, at least 20, Sun Hao said. The pretty woman looked startled and seemed to be in a dilemma. "Warrior, our mission this time is only 30 demon essence crystals. You want 20 at once, and we each get one more is not enough. This trip of this little woman is going to lose a few demon essence crystals," the pretty woman said. "That's your business, not mine." Sun Hao turned around, stepped forward, and continued to walk toward the Demon Canyon. The pretty woman's face changed. When she saw Sun Hao walking into the Demon Canyon, she gritted her teeth and shouted, "Warrior, I agree to your conditions. Say so earlier." Sun Hao stopped, turned back, and quickly walked to the pretty woman, reaching out, "Pay half of the deposit first." "Boy, how can the escort take the deposit first? If you run away halfway, who are we going to look for? The escorts will give it to you when we arrive at the destination." A man with a mustache stood up, pointed at Sun Hao, and scolded him. Hearing this, the pretty woman's expression changed drastically. He turned around and glared at the mustache man. "Qin Yuan, who are you to speak here? Scram." With just one sentence, the mustache man lowered his head and weakly walked back to the group. The pretty woman looked at Sun Hao, showing a touch of embarrassment. "Warrior, I'm really sorry. The servant is not sensible. Please don't care. As you said, I'll pay half of the deposit first." The pretty woman took out 10 pieces of crystal stones flowing with gray light and handed them to Sun Hao. Sun Hao took these crystal stones and scanned them with his divine sense. He couldn't help but frown slightly. The energy contained within these demon essence crystals was actually incomparable to ordinary divine essence crystals. He had no choice but to accept it first. Then, he would inquire about the news of this world. Watching Sun Hao take the crystal stone, a glimmer of light flashed in the pretty woman's eyes. She quickly ran forward and looked at Sun Hao enthusiastically. "Warrior, my name is Lan Wei. May I know your name?" "My name is Lei Outyin." Sun Hao thought of the name of the Thunder Tribulation Lord without hesitation. "Brother Lei, can I call you like this?" the pretty woman asked. "Of course." Sun Hao nodded. "Thank you, Brother Lei." Lan Wei's face was filled with gratitude. Then, she turned back and looked at the group of men. "Get up. Get up, the rest is over. Brother Lay will escort us through the Demon Stream Canyon to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Hurry up and pack up. We'll set out immediately. Under Lan Wei's command, everyone quickly packed up their things. Soon, they packed up their things and set off. Sun Hao naturally walked at the forefront, while Lan Wei followed closely and talked to Sun Hao. Brother Lay, are you going to Long City this time? Lan Wei asked. Where Long City was, how big it was, and what the main business of the city was, Sun Hao had no idea. In order not to reveal that he was not from the demon ancestor realm, he could only answer like this. Brother Lay, a master like you, is also a top existence in Long City. Are you from the Lay family of Long City? Lan Wei asked. No, Sun Hao answered without thinking. Oh, Lan Wei nodded slightly and sighed softly. A hint of disappointment flashed across her face. Next, Lan Wei continued to ask questions. She was simply enthusiastic. After Sun Hao asked rhetorically, she would give a very detailed answer. It seemed that she was like a travel guide. Behind the team, the mustache man's eyes were fixed on the two people. That kind of gaze seemed to want to swallow the two people. Brother Chun, the woman you like is going to change owners. A sound came into the ears of the mustache man. When a mustache man heard it, he couldn't help but get angry. A pair of dogs, they won't die a good death. The mustached man said bitterly. Shoo, lower your voice. Don't let the captain hear it. Otherwise, Brother Chun, you will be in big trouble. Tisich, it would be strange if she could hear it from so far away. Now, she is so happy. Why would she care what we say? That's true. Brother Chun, you have been pursuing her for so long, but she has always been lukewarm, completely a bitch. Every word was like a silver needle, fiercely stabbing into the mustached man's ears. His fists were clenched, and his eyes were fixed on Lan Wei. Lan Wei, don't think that I don't know what you are doing. Wait a minute, you will know what it means to make a wedding dress. If I, Chun Yuan, can't get a woman, no one else can. Lan Wei, you will regret it. The mustache man secretly thought, and his fierce eyes were fixed on the two people. Every slightly intimate action would make the mustache man go crazy. His fists were clenched, and his anger seemed to be about to explode. Sun Hao clearly sensed the mustache man's reaction. He was calm and collected, and the corner of his mouth raised a faint smile. That expression was as if everything was under control. Lan Wei, that Qin Yuan likes you very much, right? Sun Hao asked. Hearing this, Lan Wei looked startled, and her face showed a touch of annoyance. He's free to like who? Anyway, I don't like him. Lan Wei said. Then why do you let him follow you? Sun Hao asked. I didn't let him follow me, but he took the trouble to follow me. I can't help it. Lan Wei's face showed a touch of helplessness. The person I like is a master like Brother Lay. Lan Wei looked at Sun Hao, showing a look of worship. Sun Hao raised the corner of his mouth and did not answer directly. Ju. Suddenly, a howl resounded through the entire canyon. Hearing this sound, everyone in the caravan changed their expressions. Not good. Chapter 567. Chirp, a howl shook the entire demon canyon. Hearing this, Lan Wei's face changed slightly, and she knew it was not good. The entire caravan was in chaos in an instant. Everyone's faces were filled with panic. Not good, the bandits are attacking. What? Why are we so unlucky to encounter bandits as soon as we entered the demon canyon? What should we do? With just a few people, it's not enough. Their hands, which were holding their weapons, were trembling slightly. Tap, tap. Foot soldiers rushed from afar, rushing from the front and back of the canyon, blocking their way. Ooh! Billowing dust rose and whistled toward the caravan. In the dust, a fierce-looking man, waving all kinds of strange weapons, made a burst of strange sounds. That looked like an army returning from victory. The harsh howl reached the ears of the caravan, and the last bit of courage in their hearts was completely consumed. Their legs were weak, and the back of their hand were numb. The weapons in their hands seemed to be several times heavier, and it was difficult to lift them. Bang! The iron rod in a man's hand fell to the ground, and his whole body fell to the ground, shivering. Between his crotch, a yellow liquid flowed out, emitting a foul smell. He was scared out of his wits and didn't have the slightest intention to resist. Oh, a bandit waved the big knife in his hand and rushed to the man's side. Swish! The knife flashed and the head rolled. Bang! The man's headless body fell heavily to the ground, blood flowing. His body trembled violently, and gradually he changed into the appearance of a pig. Even the man's head became a pig's head. The bandit held the pig's head and slashed. The pig's head split open, and a demon crystal was peeled out and held in his hand. What bad luck! Just an ordinary pig demon. This demon crystal is useless. The bandit threw the demon crystal on the ground, turned around, and was about to look for the next target, but he was startled. He saw that there were only 2 people left on the battlefield. These 2 people were none other than Lan Wei and Qin Yuan. At this moment, the 2 of them were surrounded by dozens of bandits. Little girl, hand over your treasures, and I can consider giving you a quick death. A bearded man pointed at Lan Wei, revealing a mocking smile. Lan Wei's expression changed slightly. She looked around as if she was looking for someone. After a while, she withdrew her gaze, and a hint of sadness appeared on her face. Looks like he's been tricked. This time, I'm afraid the odds are against him. Lan Wei muttered to herself and calmed her emotions. She swept her gaze over the crowd, and a ruthless look appeared on her face. You want to deal with me with just a few of you? At this point, Lan Wei turned to look at Qin Yuan and said, If you and I work together, we still have a chance to survive. Do you understand? Captain, I understand. Qin Yuan's voice trembled as he picked up a long halberd and struggled to stand up. Huh. The bandits threw their heads back and roared with laughter, as if they had gone mad. He looked as if he had heard the most beautiful laughter in the world. At this moment, their mockery and contempt were vividly displayed. Courting death. Lan Wei snorted coldly. The long sword in her hand burst out rays of sword light as she stabbed at a bandit. The bandit didn't even have time to react to the sudden explosion. Pooh! The sound of metal-piercing flesh rang out. The bandit slowly fell down and pointed at Lan Wei. You! Bang! After saying this, he fell heavily to the ground. After twitching a few times, he turned into a demon wolf and died on the spot. This sudden scene directly scared many people to the point of being dumbfounded. The bearded man looked at Lan Wei, and his expression changed slightly. This chick's strength is not simple. Everyone attacked together. With this sound, the bandits pounced on the 2 from all directions. The earth trembled, and the air billowed out. The surrounding trees were shaken into powder by the air wave and were shrouded in dust. Kill! Lan Wei did not retreat and madly rushed forward. Beside Lan Wei, Qin Yuan also waved the stick in his hand and kept hitting the bandits that were rushing over. Boom! The 2 formed an aura field around them. For a moment, the bandits could not get close. Humph! The bearded man snorted coldly, waved a giant iron rod, and smashed it down at Lan Wei. Kacha! A burst of eggshell cracking sound rang out. The aura field on Lan Wei, and Qin Yuan's body instantly collapsed. The gigantic iron pestle fell at an extremely fast speed, producing a piercing sound. Lan Wei looked up, and her face changed dramatically. Without thinking, she waved the long sword in her hand and directly blocked her head. At the same time, she used her movement technique and quickly dodged. Boom! A loud noise, and the world trembled. The giant iron rod broke the long sword in Lan Wei's hand, seeing that it was about to hit her body. At this time, Lan Wei's body strangely avoided the giant iron rod. The giant iron rod hit the ground, smashing a cloud of dust. The whole earth was buzzing and trembling. Phew! Lan Wei breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that it was dangerous. Just as she was about to move, boom! A loud noise. An iron rod heavily hit Lan Wei's back. Her body flew upside down and hit the ground hard. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out. She struggled for a long time, but did not stand up. The bones in her back felt like they were broken, and the pain made her cold sweat. Using all her strength, she turned back and looked at Qin Yuan with a puzzled face. What? Lan Wei asked, only to see Chen Yuan stood in place, revealing a sneer on his face. Behind him, a group of bandits stood beside him, extremely respectful. Young master, how was our performance? The bearded man flattered. Good job. There'll be a big reward when we go back. Chen Yuan nodded. Thank you, young master. The bearded man was extremely proud. Looking at Lan Wei's face, Chen Yuan first looked up to the sky and laughed. Ha! The sound was faint and lingered for a long time. After laughing, Chen Yuan revealed a touch of arrogance. He pointed at Lan Wei, his face full of anger. Lan Wei, don't blame the boss. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for not following the boss. The boss gave everything for you, but you used the boss again and again. Do you really think the boss has no temper? Today is the day you die. Ha ha. Chen Yuan once again looked up to the sky and laughed. Lan Wei opened her mouth, unable to speak. She pointed at Chen Yuan and shouted, Aren't you afraid of Brother Lei? Brother Lei? Huh? That lover of yours? He ran away long ago. You think he will care about you? Dream on. Chen Yuan seemed to be crazy, pointing at Lan Wei and laughed. He held the iron rod and walked towards Lan Wei step by step. You think I really like you? What I like is the demon crystal in your head. You think the boss doesn't know your real body? Little Ling Long. Chapter 568. You. Lan Wei's expression changed drastically. She pointed at Chen Yuan and spat out a mouthful of blood. She looked dispirited, and her face was devoid of any spirit. Since you know my true form, then you should know my... Before he could finish his words. Ha! Chen Yuan threw his head back and laughed, revealing a look of disdain. Do you think I don't know that you are just an abandoned chess piece? Your father no longer cares about you. Am I right? Accept your fate today. I wanted to play with you and then take your demon crystal. I didn't expect you to think so highly of yourself. Since that's the case, I can only take your demon crystal. Scream, shout, despair. Chen Yuan spoke word by word. His insolence could not be described with words. He looked down at Lan Wei from above, waved his iron rod, and smashed it down at Lan Wei. It looked like Lan Wei's skull was about to crack open. At this moment, a burst of laughter rang out. This sound was like a divine sound, causing the iron cudgel that was about to smash down to freeze in place. For a moment, it was impossible to smash it down. Who? Chen Yuan roared angrily. When he looked at the source of the voice, he could not help but be stunned. Amidst the dust, a figure walked towards him step by step. This figure exuded the aura of a god king, which whistled in all directions. Demon King? The moment he saw Sun Hao, Chen Yuan's face changed dramatically. His body trembled uncontrollably. Unexpectedly, that inconspicuous kid was actually a demon king. How is this possible? Chen Yuan widened his eyes and shook his head repeatedly. He was unwilling to believe what he was seeing. Brother Lei? Lan Wei looked at Sun Hao with a look of surprise on her face. Lan Wei's face was filled with gratitude. Brother Lei, I didn't expect you to not run away. I actually misunderstood you. Damn it. Lan Wei looked at Sun Hao with an apologetic expression. Sun Hao looked at Lan Wei and nodded slightly. He looked at Chen Yuan and walked towards him. You. Chen Yuan's voice trembled. He did not have the slightest intention to fight. In front of the Demon King, he was like an ant. Any struggle would be futile. Lord Demon King, we are all under his orders. The bearded man was the first to step forward and push all the blame onto Chen Yuan. My lord, we didn't mean to hurt anyone. It's all him. The other subordinates also blamed Chen Yuan one after another, pushing all the responsibility away. You guys, Chen Yuan pointed at them, his face filled with anger. You guys actually betrayed us? Are you not afraid of my Chen family? Betrayal? The bearded man smiled. Young Master Chen, a wise man submits to circumstances. What is your Chen family worth in front of the Demon King? Exactly. The bearded man pointed at Chen Yuan and said, Lord Demon King, his original form is of the Golden Ape tribe. Demon crystals are very expensive. You. Chen Yuan's expression froze. He opened his mouth, but was speechless. His head hung low, and his face was dispirited. Lord Fiend King, we are willing to recognize you as our master. Ijin will serve you, how about it? The fully bearded man said. Sun Hao smiled coldly. His cold killing intent was not concealed. If you betray him now, you will betray me in the future. How would I dare to accept people like you? After speaking, Sun Hao's body gradually disappeared and turned into darkness. The whole world turned black. Everyone's eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of black cloth, and they couldn't see the surroundings at all. You wolf clan, my god. No, Poochie. The sound of flesh and blood bursting sounded. When everything was restored, there were only 3 people left in the entire scene. These 3 people were Sun Hao, Lan Wei, and Chun Yuan. Chun Yuan's body trembled, looked at Sun Hao, and then looked at Lan Wei. He seemed to think of something. When he was about to speak, Poochie, a piercing sound rang out. Chun Yuan covered the bloody hole in his throat with his hand and looked up at Lan Wei. Before he finished speaking, only blood foam rushed out. He couldn't say a complete sentence at all. You're allowed to kill me, but I can't kill you. You dare to do this to me, Dai? The sword in his hand fell, and his head rolled. Chun Yuan's headless body fell to the ground. After twitching a few times, there was no reaction. Poochie, after killing Chun Yuan, Lan Wei spat out a mouthful of blood again. She looked dispirited and slowly fell to the ground. After looking at Sun Hao, she fainted again. Sun Hao looked at Lan Wei and sighed softly. He stepped forward, took out a medicinal pill, and fed it to Lan Wei. After a while, Lan Wei woke up faintly. She looked at Sun Hao and was moved. Thank you, Brother Lei, your life-saving grace. This little sister will never forget. Lan Wei's eyes were affectionate, staring at Sun Hao. When Sun Hao saw it, he quickly let go of Lan Wei. Come on, my medicinal pill is a priceless treasure. It is worth at least 20 demon essence crystals. When I send you to Yinglong City, you have to give me 30 demon essence crystals. Sun Hao said. Lan Wei's chest stagnated, looking at Sun Hao, showing a look of hidden bitterness. That look seemed to say that he was really a fool who didn't understand a woman's heart at all. Okay, Lan Wei struggled to stand up. When we arrive at Yinglong City, I will go and give you 30 more demon essence crystals. Okay, can we set off now? Sun Hao asked. Big brother, my whole body is sore now. Can you carry me? Lan Wei asked. Come on, take my medicine, and your whole body will be full of strength. Don't pretend. Sun Hao's words suppressed Lan Wei in place. In this world, is there really such a straight man? Lan Wei shook her head slightly and walked forward. There was no trace of powerlessness. Sun Hao followed behind Lan Wei and also walked forward step by step. Big brother, your original body is Yu Lang. This is an ancient bloodline. Aren't you afraid? Lan Wei asked. Afraid? Why should I be afraid? Sun Hao was puzzled. Yes, you have the strength of the Demon King realm. You really don't have to be afraid. Lan Wei nodded slightly. You came from Ancient Demon Mountain, right? Ancient Demon Mountain? Why do you ask? Sun Hao's heart thumped, and he didn't know how to answer. I think you don't know a lot of common sense in this world. Except for Ancient Demon Mountain, which is isolated from the world, the demons in other places should know. Hearing this, Sun Hao was stunned. Common sense? What common sense? Did I do something wrong? Now that you found out, what should I do? Indeed, I have lived in the deep mountains for a long time, isolated from the world. I don't know if that is Ancient Demon Mountain. Sun Hao said, Big brother, it seems that you really came from Ancient Demon Mountain. Lan Wei nodded slightly and said, Maybe, but what common sense do you mean? Sun Hao asked. As soon as these words came out, Lan Wei looked stunned. Then she opened her mouth and said, Chapter 569, Big Brother. In this world, no one easily reveals their true body. Lan Wei said. Hearing this, Sun Hao was shocked. He deliberately let them know his true body to make them think that he was a demon. Unexpectedly, it was counterproductive. She suspected it at once. Why? Sun Hao asked. Big brother, don't you know how demon essence crystals come from? Lan Wei asked. Sun Hao's forehead turned black, and he thought it was not good. He didn't know these common sense at all. If he had known earlier, he would have caught a demon and searched his memory. Is it possible that demon essence crystals are refined from demon essence crystals? Sun Hao asked. Yes. Lan Wei nodded. The higher the quality of demon essence crystals, the higher the level of demon essence crystals needed. For example, your original body is a wolf, which is an ancient bloodline. Your demon essence crystals can be refined into at least 500 pieces of excellent quality demon essence crystals. Lan Wei said. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded secretly. He didn't expect that the demon essence crystals he casually got would be so valuable. I really don't know these. My grandmother only told me that when I come to the outside world, demon essence crystals are money. Sun Hao said. Big brother, what about your parents? Lan Wei asked. I don't know. Sun Hao shook his head again, and a tear flashed in his eyes. I have never seen my parents since I can remember. I asked my grandmother, and she also shut up. I grew up with my grandmother since I was a child. Sun Hao's words were true, and tears flashed in Lan Wei's eyes when he heard it. Big brother, you are so pitiful. Although I was abandoned by my parents, I at least have them. Lan Wei patted Sun Hao's shoulder and comforted him softly. Is your father the city, lord of Yinglong City? Sun Hao asked. Hearing this, Lan Wei looked startled. She looked at Sun Hao with a surprised face. Big brother, how do you know? Lan Wei said. Didn't Xin Yuan say your original body just now? So, I thought that Yinglong City might be the original body of Yinglong City. So you guessed it? Lan Wei asked. Yes. Sun Hao nodded. Big brother, you are really smart. Let's go quickly. This demon canyon is not safe. Lan Wei said. Is there someone more powerful than the Demon King living here? Sun Hao asked. Yes. Lan Wei nodded. There is a demon venerable living in this demon ravine canyon. Even my father doesn't have absolute confidence in dealing with it. For safety's sake, we should hurry up, Lan Wei said. Okay. Sun Hao nodded and followed Lan Wei, running forward quickly. This time, they didn't encounter any accidents on the way. 3 days later, the two walked out of the canyon safely. The clouds and mist dispersed, and a city appeared in front of Sun Hao's eyes. Above the city gate, the 3 characters in Yinglong City were extremely dazzling. Seeing this city, Sun Hao's eyes revealed infinite brilliance. Big brother, thank you for escorting me along the way. Hao said. Wei, you're welcome. I also thank you for telling me a lot of common sense. Sun Hao said. Big brother, you can ask anyone you want to know. No need to thank me. Lan Hao, brother. I will. How of how that he. Bye. How as young as how. Li brother. Brother, how that he how. Chun, brother. With your strength, no one will dare to laugh at you. I owe you 30 demon crystals. Do you want to come to the hunting wind caravan to get them, or should I send them for you? Lan Wei asked. No need. These 30 demon essence crystals are my gift to you. Sun Hao said. Brother, how can I do this? You saved my life and escorted me here. I, Lan Wei, will never be able to repay your kindness. If you don't even accept 30 demon crystals, I will feel sorry. Lan Wei said. No need. Sun Hao waved his hand and walked forward. Brother, wait. Lan Wei stopped Sun Hao. No need. Sun Hao said. Brother, I am looking for you for another thing. I live in the hunting wind caravan. There is a teleportation array to Chongming City. If you want to go to Chongming City one day, you can come to me. This is also a small matter that little sister can do for big brother, Lan Wei said. Okay, I will come to you if I have the chance. Sun Hao stepped forward and walked quickly to Yinglong City. Soon, he disappeared without a trace. It wasn't until Sun Hao disappeared that Lan Wei came back to her senses. The corners of her mouth curled up into a faint smile. Her figure slowly disappeared, as if she had never appeared. Come and see. This is the demon skin of a lord-level demon. It only costs 1 demon crystal. Don't miss it when you walk on the road. Just one demon crystal. You can't go to Chongming City, even if you go to Lankham City. Walking to the street of Yinglong City, there were shouts from the roadside. Sun Hao was secretly surprised when he heard this. This feeling was like walking into a human city. It seems that there is a tea house here. The tea house was the best place to inquire about information. In order to figure out this world, going to the tea house was the best choice. Not long after, Sun Hao saw a tea house. Without any hesitation, Sun Hao entered the tea house. He spent a demon crystal and found a seat in the hall to sit down. He drank by himself and secretly listened to the conversations of the people around him. I'll tell you a big news. What news? Why are you acting so mysterious? Do you know Chongyuan City? Isn't that nonsense? Chongyuan City is a county city. How can I not know? Let me tell you, the city lord of Chongyuan City caught a woman whose body is a nine-tailed celestial fox. As soon as these words came out, the surroundings were quiet. Everyone's attention was attracted. What? Demon-tailed celestial fox? That's a precious, ancient bloodline. The city lord of Chongyuan City is going to make a fortune. Yeah, this kind of demon crystal can be refined into hundreds of thousands of demon crystals. Exclamations continued. Many people stood up and surrounded the man who spoke. The man smiled slightly, revealing an unfathomable smile. He pointed to the crowd with his hand and continued to speak. Hundreds of thousands of demon crystals? What is this for a big shot like the city lord of Chongyuan City? If this nine-tailed celestial fox is not used to refine demon crystals, what is the use? That's right, demon crystals have no other use besides this. The man raised the corner of his mouth and kept shaking his head. No, let me tell you, the nine-tailed celestial fox has another use. I'm afraid you don't know. As long as you can make the nine-tailed celestial fox in heat, and then carry out double cultivation with it, you can absorb all the demon power of the nine-tailed celestial fox. With the strength of the city lord of Chongyuan City, after devouring the demon power of the nine-tailed celestial fox, do you think he can break through to the demon saint realm? These words stunned everyone in place, and they couldn't calm down for a long time. Chapter 570, Nine-Tailed Celestial Fox. Sun Hao listened to these and frowned secretly, revealing a thoughtful look. He remembered that there was also a nine-tailed celestial fox clan on the demon Ancestor mountain. Their clan was sent to the demon Ancestor realm. Were they still alive now? Could it be that this captured nine-tailed celestial fox was one of them? Thinking of this, Sun Hao's heart thumped. It seems that I have to go to Chongming City. This nine-tailed celestial fox must be seen. Sun Hao thought secretly and hid this idea in the bottom of his heart. He took a sip of tea and continued to listen to their conversation. After talking about the nine-tailed celestial fox, they talked about a few more things. Sun Hao listened one by one and remembered these things in his heart. These things you talked about are too far away from us. It's boring. A knife scar stood up and said, "Then tell us about the big event near our Yinglong City." Yes, there is no big event in Yinglong City. It's either the cat raised by Annie Wong next door or the dog of the Zhao family. It's not new at all. Let me tell you, I really know a big event. Knife Scar smiled slightly and pretended to be mysterious. This time, everyone's appetite was stirred up. Everyone's eyes swept on Knife Scar and remained motionless. Hurry up and say it. Why are you dawdling? It's boring to always talk about human taste. Is it interesting to always use this trick? For everyone's doubts, Knife Scar was not angry at all. He smiled slightly and continued to speak. Let me tell you, a few days ago, someone found a demon king in the Demon Stream Canyon. As soon as these words came out, there was a dead silence all around. Everyone's eyes widened, showing incomparable envy. There was no concealment of that greedy gaze. You don't know, at that time, the sun and moon were dim, and the whole canyon was dark. Except for Yilang, who can do it. Knife Scar's words were reasonable, and everyone was stunned when they heard it. Yilang is an ancient bloodline. If I can catch a Yilang, then I will be rich. This is hundreds of demon essence crystals. I'm afraid I can't earn so many demon essence crystals in my life. Exclamations continued, and everyone's face was full of greed. Sun Hao listened to this and frowned secretly. At that time, it was confirmed that a few people had sensed the darkness in the sky. The reason why he did this was to let them sense it. He didn't expect the news to reach here so quickly. These demons were actually so obsessed with the ancient bloodline. They only wanted to turn their demon crystals into demon essence crystals. Sun Hao thought secretly and continued to listen to their conversation. Time flew, and half a day passed in the blink of an eye. There seemed to be no night in the entire Yinglong city. Sun Hao walked out of the tea house, stretched his waist, and wandered around Yinglong city. After walking for a while, Sun Hao stood in front of the tea house and stopped. In the attic, for words were written on it, "Hunting Wind Chamber of Commerce. Big Brother Lei, please come in." A man quickly rushed forward, enthusiastically stretched out his hands, and invited Sun Hao to enter. "Do you know me?" Sun Hao asked. "Big Brother Lei, the president has already instructed us to invite you in when we see you," the shop assistant said. "President?" Sun Hao was puzzled. "Brother Lei, our president is Miss Lan Wei. She is the daughter of the city lord. Some time ago, she had a fight with the main city, so she opened this Chamber of Commerce. Now the Chamber of Commerce is not big, and there are only a few people. Please." The shop assistant made a gesture of invitation. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded slightly. He took a step and stepped inside. Under the guidance of the shop assistant, Sun Hao soon met Lan Wei. "Big Brother Lei." Lan Wei looked at Sun Hao with a surprised face. She was very enthusiastic, invited Sun Hao into the hall, and began to receive him. The two of them talked loudly, as if they were two bosom friends. Time passed unknowingly. Soon, a few hours passed. "Big Brother Lei, how long are you going to stay in Yinglong City? If you want to stay for a few more days, I have a few good places to go. The scenery there is good. Big Brother Lei will like it." Lan Wei looked at Sun Hao and said. Hearing this, Sun Hao showed a thoughtful look. The most important place for him at the moment was to go to Chongming City. There was a nine-tailed celestial fox that he needed to see. Once he missed the time, he was afraid that he would regret it. "I am going to leave Yinglong City today," Sun Hao said. "Ah." Lan Wei was shocked and seemed to be caught off guard by Sun Hao's words. "Big Brother Lei, you're leaving Yinglong City. Where do you want to go?" Lan Wei asked. "Chongming City." Sun Hao said. "Big Brother Lei, here is tens of thousands of miles from Chongming City. It will take a few days to get there. I happen to have a teleportation array here. Why don't you take it?" Lan Wei asked. "Okay." Sun Hao did not refuse and directly nodded in agreement. "Big Brother Lei, please follow me." Lan Wei led the way in front, and Sun Hao followed closely. Along the way, there were 7 turns and 8 turns, making people dizzy. They went dozens of meters deep underground. Lan Wei took Sun Hao and stood in front of a heavy stone gate. On the stone gate, ancient patterns were engraved on it. Terrifying aura kept coming from the gate. "Big Brother Lei, the teleportation array is inside." Lan Wei pointed inside the gate and said. "Oh." Sun Hao nodded, pointed to the patterns on the gate, and asked, "What are these?" "Big Brother Lei, these are ancient patterns. This is used to prevent others from entering," Lan Wei said. "Oh." Sun Hao nodded, showing a thoughtful look. "So this is the ancient pattern. Big Brother Lei, have you seen it?" In Lan Wei's eyes, a touch of worry flashed away. She stared at Sun Hao, capturing every wisp of his emotion. "No, I have only heard of ancient patterns. Grandma said that ancient formation patterns possess astonishing might. I think these patterns don't seem to have any power." Sun Hao, like a fool, walked to the gate and reached out to touch those patterns. There was a shock. A terrifying power directly hit Sun Hao and sent him flying. He fell heavily to the ground, his head and face covered with dust. Lan Wei's face changed drastically, ran to Sun Hao, and helped him up. "Big Brother Lei, are you okay? It's all my fault. I didn't tell you in detail." A touch of pride flashed in Lan Wei's eyes. Sun Hao showed a look of fear, and with Lan Wei's help, it took a long time to stand firm. His 2 thighs were still trembling violently. That expression seemed to be too frightened. "Lan Wei, you're right, this is really terrifying. It scared me to death." Sun Hao patted his chest, showing a look of fear. "Big Brother Lei, you are strong. These big arrays will not cause you any harm except to stop you. Let's go in." Lan Wei's hands formed a seal. An array of light emitted from her hands. Chapter 571. The heavy stone door slowly opened. A stone room of several hundred square meters appeared in front of Sun Hao. Inside the stone room, countless array patterns covered the entire stone room. Each side of the stone wall was engraved with ancient array patterns. Each array pattern was connected from head to tail, forming a huge network that dazzled people's eyes. Big Brother Lei, let's go in. Lan Wei smiled slightly and led the way forward. Okay. Sun Hao nodded and followed Lan Wei into the stone room without any hesitation. Hum! The heavy friction sounded, and the stone door closed. The entire stone room was sealed on all 6 sides, and it looked like a confined space. The stone door that was closed just now was actually seamless with the stone wall, and not a trace could be found. Big Brother Lei, I will open the teleportation array for you. Please wait a moment. Lan Wei took a step forward, stood on a round platform, made a gesture with both hands, and muttered something in her mouth. Hum! The ground in the center of the stone room slowly rotated. Wisps of light surged up from the array and condensed rapidly. A moment later, a teleportation light door condensed and formed. Big Brother Lei, it's done, please. Lan Wei made a gesture of clothes. Although she concealed it well, there was still a hint of tension in her body. A touch of expectation brewed in her eyes. That look seemed to say, hurry up, it will be done soon. For these, Sun Hao seemed to know nothing. He was completely like a fool. Okay. Sun Hao strode toward the teleportation array quickly. The moment he stepped into the light door. There was a shock. Beams of light came from all directions. In an instant, they wrapped Sun Hao and tied him up like a dumpling. Sun Hao's face changed drastically, struggling frantically. However, these beams were getting tighter and tighter. In the end, it was extremely difficult for Sun Hao to even move a finger. The only thing he could do was to be able to speak. Big Brother Lei, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Don't scare me. What is this? How do they tie you up? Speaking of this, Lan Wei's face changed and instantly became cold. She looked at Sun Hao with a smile on her face. It's not easy, it's really not easy. Catching you really took a lot of effort from me. Lan Wei's temperament changed completely. The little girl next door had turned into a scorpion hiding in the dark, extremely venomous. Why? Sun Hao looked at Lan Wei, showing a look of unwillingness. Lan Wei let out a laugh filled with contempt. At this point, you still don't know? Do you know how much your demon crystal is worth? Let me tell you, 50,000 demon essence crystals. 50,000 demon essence crystals. Lan Wei uttered each sentence, looking completely insane. He looked like a lunatic. Isn't it only worth 500 yuan? Sun Hao looked puzzled. You believe that? An ancient netherwolf. Even if it's a lord-tier great demon, it's still worth 10,000. As for you, you've reached the God King level. That's 50,000 demon essence crystals. The value of the ancient netherwolf is something that I released. For you, I've spent a lot of effort, Lan Wei said. You did it for me. All this is a trap set by you? Sun Hao looked puzzled. Yes. Lan Wei nodded. Then how did you know that I would pass there? Sun Hao asked. Lan Wei's eyes glowed. That's my secret technique. 10 days ago, I found you entering the Demon Stream Canyon. After discovering your body, I waited in front. So there's the scene of you and me meeting. Brother Lei, no little guy, do you understand? Lan Wei said. So that's how it is. Sun Hao nodded. This Lan Wei regarded him as another Netherwolf clan member. He didn't expect that he would become her target. If I were another Netherwolf, I'm afraid I would really die in her hands. Looking at Sun Hao's gloomy face, the corner of Lan Wei's mouth rose, and her face was full of pride. Little guy, don't struggle, it's useless. For the sake of your impending death, I'll tell you another big thing. Actually, your demon crystal has already been settled by a big shot. He will come to get it right away. Don't worry, his method of taking the demon crystal is brilliant, and he won't make you suffer. Lan Wei told him everything. That expression was like a king who controlled everything. Her proud look was really hard to describe in words. So, you killed Qin Yuan to silence him, right? Deliberately showing weakness. Is it a trick to hurt yourself in front of me? Sun Hao stared at Lan Wei and asked. Yes. It seems that you're not stupid, right? If I let you experience more things, I'm afraid I really can't catch you. Don't worry, don't wait too long. Speaking of this, Lan Wei's eyes flashed, coming. Who? She waved her right hand, and a teleportation array condensed in front of her chest. A man walked out of the teleportation array and stood in front of Lan Wei. He was dressed in a brocade robe and had a dignified appearance. At first glance, he was the young master of a big family. Between his gestures, he showed the aura of a king. Seeing this man, Lan Wei did not hesitate and knelt down. "Greetings, young master. Don't be polite. Did you catch him?" The man in the brocade robe held his hands behind his back and said lightly, "Young master, look." Lan Wei pointed to Sun Hao and said, looking along Lan Wei's finger, the man in the brocade robe's eyes flashed. "Demon King. His original body is a wolf." "Not bad. Not bad. This time you have made a great contribution. You can rest assured, I will leave a place for you. Whether you can pass the battle and enter the top 5, it all depends on your luck," the man in the brocade robe said. Hearing this, Lan Wei knelt down and kowtowed. "Thank you, young master." "Okay, no need to be polite." After speaking, the man in the brocade robe stared directly at Sun Hao. A sharp gaze seemed to see through Sun Hao. Goosebumps appeared all over his body, and he was not used to it. "Little guy, your demon crystal is very important. This is the food used to evolve the 9-tailed celestial fox. It's very fast, and it won't hurt." In the hand of the man in the brocade robe, a sharp blade suddenly appeared, aimed at Sun Hao's eyebrows, and stabbed down. Ding, a metal collision sound sounded. The sharp blade in the man's hand broke and was directly scrapped. Seeing this scene, the man in the brocade robe's pupils shrank, and his face changed drastically. When he was about to retreat, he was horrified to find that his body was imprisoned and unable to move. Even opening his mouth became extremely difficult. Lan Wei was startled awake by the sound. She looked back, and her face changed drastically. Her whole body trembled uncontrollably. A fatal crisis enveloped her heart. Without any hesitation, Lan Wei took a step and ran away quickly. Chapter 572. This is impossible. Lan Wei kept shaking her head, unwilling to believe everything in front of her. In her own territory, the formation was out of control and imprisoned her. Moreover, the Great Formation actually shielded this place, and no one could sense it. In other words, if she died here, no one would know. Is obviously just a wolf. How can he know such a profound formation? Lan Wei murmured, looking at Sun Hao, her whole body trembling violently. Whoosh! All the beams of light that bound Sun Hao disappeared. Sun Hao instantly regained his freedom. He looked at the man in the brocade robe and walked toward him step by step. Standing in front of him, he looked down at him. "Do you want this seat's demon crystal?" The man in the brocade robe opened his mouth, and his whole scalp exploded. Fear was like black ants all over the sky, crawling all over his body. His body trembled uncontrollably. My lord, I was wrong. The man's voice trembled. "Is it over if you're wrong? Let this seat see your demon crystal." After speaking, a dagger suddenly appeared in Sun Hao's hand. The cold light that tore everything reflected in the eyes of the man in the brocade robe, and his face turned pale with fright. He waved his hand again and shouted, My lord, stop, please stop." However, his begging for mercy had no effect. The dagger slowly approached, scaring the man in the brocade robe to death. "My lord, I am Li Zhu's son. If you kill me, Before he finished speaking, stab, the sound of metal piercing flesh and blood sounded. The dagger pierced the brocade robe man's eyebrows. The brocade robe man's pupils shrank, and his eyes widened. There was no reaction in an instant. Li Zhu? Never heard of him. Sun Hao shook his head slightly, stretched out his hands, and pressed them on the brocade robe man's head. Buzz! There was a shock as if a heavy blow hit his head. Sun Hao hurriedly retracted his divine sense, and his face showed a touch of fear. This guy's mind was actually planted with soul poison. If someone looked through his memory, his soul would collapse and nothing would be left. "Who the hell is it? Why did you plant soul poison in him?" Sun Hao murmured, showing a thoughtful look. "No matter. Let's pry out his demon crystal first. Sun Hao waved his right hand, and a dagger appeared in his hand. Kacha, with a gentle pry of the dagger, the man's head was pried open, and the demon crystal in his head was directly held in his hand. Phew! Five-colored light flowed and flickered with a peculiar radiance. In Sun Hao's eyes, he nodded slightly. Demon King level demon crystal, not bad. Sun Hao put away the demon crystal and gently clapped his hands. It was as if he had done something insignificant. Such a scene strongly stimulated Lan Wei's eyes. She was sweating profusely, and her chest was heaving up and down. The yellow liquid spilled out uncontrollably, drenching his pants. He looked at Sun Hao, opened his mouth, and couldn't spit out a word. Boundless despair surged through his body. Thud thud, Sun Hao turned around and walked towards Lan Wei step by step. Every step was like stepping on Lan Wei's chest, causing her body to tremble. You? How can you be so strong? This is impossible. This is impossible. Lan Wei kept shaking her head, unwilling to believe what she was seeing. Sun Hao did not answer, but walked towards her step by step. You're just a wolf. How can your formation talent surpass our winged dragon clan? You. Who the hell are you? Your formation talent is so strong. Why do you deliberately show weakness and get caught by me? Why the hell is this? The unwilling voice resounded through the entire stone room. For these, Sun Hao was unmoved and continued to walk towards Lan Wei step by step. Lan Wei's face changed drastically, and one by one, methods flashed through her mind. However, no method could solve the crisis in front of her. If you have the guts, don't use the formation. Let's have a fair fight. Do you dare? Lan Wei stared at Sun Hao and shouted. This sound seemed to have a strong power. Sun Hao's footsteps paused and stood in place. In that case, I will give you this opportunity. Sun Hao waved his right hand, and the restriction binding Lan Wei disappeared instantly. At this moment, Lan Wei regained her freedom. Ah! Lan Wei roared, holding a long sword, and stabbed at Sun Hao's eyebrows. The terrifying might shook the entire stone chamber, causing it to buzz and tremble. Sun Hao stood in place, motionless. He looked as if he was scared and didn't dare to move. Boom! The long sword in Lan Wei's hand pierced Sun Hao's eyebrows in an instant. However, the long sword burst apart instantly, as if it was stabbed into an iron wall. She stared blankly at the long sword in her hand, and her eyes widened. Her whole body trembled violently, and her face was pale. At this moment, she seemed to think of something. After a touch of despair, mixed with extreme remorse, was written all over her face. Plop! Her body was unstable, and she collapsed directly to the ground. She looked up at Sun Hao, and her lips trembled. Who the hell are you? How can your physical body be so strong? Lan Wei looked at Sun Hao, showing an expression of wanting to know the truth. Since you're going to die, I will be kind and tell you the truth. Actually, I am not from the Quiet Wolf clan. After speaking, Sun Hao waved his right hand, and a demon crystal appeared in his hand. Seeing this demon crystal, Lan Wei's eyes widened, showing an incredible expression. To be able to dig out her demon crystal, this person was definitely not the original body of that demon crystal. Then what is his original body? The secret technique was used. Lan Wei was horrified to find that Sun Hao's body seemed to be covered with a layer of mysterious aura. No matter how hard she tried, she could only see a hazy image, and nothing could be seen. Then what is your original body? Lan Wei looked at Sun Hao and asked. With a shock, Lan Wei's body flew out uncontrollably and fell into Sun Hao's claws. A terrifying force gripped Lan Wei's neck tightly. Her face was pale, and she couldn't breathe smoothly. Actually, my original body is a human. As soon as these words came out, Lan Wei's pupil shrank. She was about to struggle when a huge force pinched her neck. Kacha! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Lan Wei's neck broke, and her head drooped softly. Her consciousness was collapsing quickly. Her body fell to the ground, and after twitching strangely a few times, there was no movement. Her eyes were wide open, and she died with a grievance. just when her consciousness was about to collapse. Sun Hao stretched out his palm and pressed it on her head. The next second, bang! With a loud explosion, Lan Wei's soul broke apart, and no memory was searched. Sun Hao stood in place and didn't react at all. Lan Wei's body was also planted with soul poison. Could it be that the demon ancestor planted soul poison in everyone's soul? If so, it was basically impossible for him to search other people's memories to understand this world. Who? Sun Hao waved his right hand, and Lan Wei's body broke apart and burst into powder. A demon crystal flew out and fell into Sun Hao's hand. You're too careful. As a city lord, you really deserve to die for doing such a thing. Maybe it's your fate to meet me. Sun Hao muttered to himself and shook his head for a while. Take back your mood. Sun Hao's gaze swept thousands of miles away. Chongming City, Nine-Tailed Fox, I'm coming. After speaking, Sun Hao's figure flickered and disappeared instantly. Chapter 573. To the north of Yinglong City, tens of thousands of kilometers away, there was a huge city called Chongming City. As the county city of the Misty Demon Kingdom, Chongming City was far more prosperous than Yinglong City. In Chongming City, there was an endless stream of people. The shops along the streets were not closed at all. On this day, Sun Hao appeared in Chongming City. He stood where he was and looked at the bustling scene in front of him, secretly surprised. This city was in no way inferior to the central prefecture immortal city he had seen on the Tianluo continent before. The Nine-Tailed Fox seems to be in the city lord's mansion. I wonder how strong the city lord is. I should scout it out first. And that Li Zhu, who is he? Sun Hao secretly made a decision. Just as he was about to step forward, his expression changed slightly. He quickly restrained his aura and released a little of the aura from the demon crystal. Phew! A wisp of divine thought flashed past. It didn't linger on him for too long. Sensing this divine sense, Sun Hao frowned, his face solemn. This divine will was far inferior to the divine will he had encountered when he first entered the demon ancestor's realm. In fact, it was not even a fraction of the divine will. However, this divine will should have been released by Saint Realm Demon. It seems to be in the direction of the city lord's mansion. Is the city lord a sage? Looks like I should release less of my divine sense in case he senses it. Let's ask around first before making any plans. Thinking of this, Sun Hao's face was puzzled. Who was it that planted soul poison in the sea of souls of all the demons? Could it be the master of that terrifying divine will? If that's the case, then I really have to be careful. Sun Hao thought as he walked, and soon he walked to a tea house. Without any hesitation, Sun Hao went straight to the tea house and walked in quickly. Howl! Suddenly, a roar shook the entire Chongming City. This sound contained a terrifying demonic power, causing everyone's heads to ring and their faces to turn deathly pale. Buzz! Then, a terrifying pressure swept across the entire Chongming City. This oppressive might was accompanied by a sense of hatred and killing intent. At this moment, in the entire Chongming City, most of the demons knelt down and trembled in fear. Fortunately, this wave of pressure came quickly and left even faster. The crowd was not much affected and stood up one after another. This is too terrifying. Could this be the pressure of a demon saint? It's very possible. I was really scared to death just now. I didn't expect that there would be a demon saint in a county city. Unbelievable. Everyone had a look of lingering fear on their faces. Sun Hao drank tea secretly, listening to the discussions around him, filtering useful information. Time passed slowly. Unknowingly, for hours had passed. Sun Hao shook his head secretly, stood up, and was about to leave. Big news, big news. An urgent cry came from outside the door. Then, a man in a blue robe rushed in. What big news? Stop being so noisy. That's right. Is there any news that we don't know? Voices of doubt rang out continuously. Let me tell you, this news is just spread from the city lord's mansion. It's closely related to us. Do you want to know? The blue-robed man said calmly. When these words reached everyone's ears, it instantly aroused their interest. Many people gathered around and looked at the blue-robed man. "What news? Hurry up and tell me. Why are you acting so mysterious? If you don't tell us, we'll all leave." Looking at everyone's anxious appearance, the blue-robed man smiled slightly. "Let me tell you, the news from a city lord's mansion said that 3 days later, a banquet will be held in the city lord's mansion, and you will see the legendary nine-tailed celestial fox." As soon as these words came out, the whole scene was dead silent. Everyone's eyes widened, showing excitement on their faces. Even Sun Hao stood in place and slowly sat down. He pricked up his ears and listened carefully, not letting go of any useful news. "Are you serious? Can you see the legendary nine-tailed celestial fox? Are you kidding me? Will the city lord take out that kind of peerless treasure for us to see? Don't brag. Even if the city lord's mansion invites, it's not our turn." "That's right. We'd better not worry about this." Everyone's face was different. When everyone was quiet, the blue-robed man continued to speak. "This time you are wrong. This news is absolutely true. The notice has been posted, and it will soon spread throughout Chongming City. I tell you, this banquet, the city lord's mansion will invite 5,000 people, and anyone who receives an invitation can go. As for these 5,000 slots, we'll adopt a nameless method. At noon tomorrow, invitations will be thrown down from the city tower at the east, west, north, and south gates, but those who grab them can go to the banquet." The blue-robed man said it all in one go, for fear that everyone couldn't understand, and explained in great detail. Listening to this, everyone's eyes bloomed with a strange light. "This time, I must grab an invitation. Legend has it that the nine-tailed celestial fox is beautiful. If I can see her, I will not come to the world in vain. Yes, such a good thing, I must go and fight for it." Such voices kept ringing. Sun Hao listened to these and frowned slightly. His face was full of doubts. Soon after, he stood up and left the tea house. Chongming City, in a certain pavilion. The door of the pavilion was closed, and the windows were closed. The inner walls of the pavilion were covered with various array patterns. The light flowed, shining, and it seemed that the entire pavilion was made into a closed space. In the pavilion, hundreds of men and women stood or sat, showing serious expressions. Suddenly, knock, knock, there was a knock on the door. Everyone jumped to their feet. They looked at the door with a serious face. After a private conversation, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Creak, the door opened, and a figure rushed in. The door was closed. This figure took off the hat on his head and untied his cloak. This figure was a man. He stood at the door, looking at everyone with a solemn face. 3 days later, the city lord's mansion will hold a banquet. We will have a chance to see her, and this is our only chance. Tomorrow, anonymous invitations will be distributed at the 4 city gates. Those who hold the invitation can enter the banquet. Tomorrow, everyone will act in batches, and each person will grab an invitation at the 4 city gates. Understand? The man looked at everyone with a solemn face. Understood. Everyone nodded in unison and said seriously, "Okay, you guys get ready." Speaking of this, the man left quickly. After a few flashes, the man came to the 2nd floor. He stood by the window, looking up ahead, and his eyes seemed to penetrate millions of miles away. "Luo Ti, you've suffered. Don't worry, I will save you. Mother, you must hold on. When I save Ah Ti, I will save you." The man clenched his fists, showing a determined look. Chapter 574. The next day, Sun Hao stood at the gate of the east gate, crowded with the crowd, and glanced at the crowd from time to time. At a glance, it was densely packed with people. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the city gate, showing an eager expression. On the city gate, invitations floated in the air, seemingly controlled by some force. Time flew by, and soon it was noon. There was a shock. More than 1,000 invitations slowly floated down from the sky. Immediately, whoosh, all of them moved and leaped into the air, grabbing the invitation cards in a hurry. Sun Hao looked at this scene, and the corner of his mouth raised slightly. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and looked at a man with a hat, showing a puzzled expression. Why is this person familiar? Do I know him? He was about to release his divine sense to confirm. Buzz! There was a shock in the sky. A divine sense shrouded everyone at the east gate. Sun Hao hurriedly converged his breath, jumped up, and went straight to an invitation. Want to fight with the boss? There was a loud explosion, shaking the air. A man rushed straight to Sun Hao. Humph. Sun Hao snorted coldly. Supreme thing. Why do you say it's yours? Get lost. A punch blasted out. Boom! The air trembled, and the man who was fighting with Sun Hao fell to the ground like a broken kite. Sun Hao didn't get any benefits either. His body staggered back, and it took a long time to stabilize his figure. He stretched out his hand and caught the invitation that fell. Very quickly, he put away the invitation. Falling to the ground, Sun Hao glanced around. After looking around, he didn't find the man in the hat. Soon after, every invitation fell into everyone's hands and became an object with an owner. Some people grabbed 2 or even 3, but no one could do it. When each invitation disappeared, the divine sense shrouding everyone also disappeared. Sun Hao stood in place, showing a dignified face, deliberately letting the strongest person win the invitation. It seems that this banquet must be a Hongmin banquet. I'd like to see what tricks you are playing. The corner of Sun Hao's mouth rose, showing a confident look. He stepped forward and quickly walked into Chongming City. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, another 2 days had passed. On this day, the city governor's mansion was holding a banquet. Many people from the major forces walked into the city lord's mansion with invitations. Even if these big shots didn't manage to get an invitation, they had demon essence crystals, so it wasn't a problem for them to buy one at a high price. All the major forces in Chongming City held their invitations and walked into the mayor's mansion. The guards of the city lord's mansion only recognized the invitation and not the person. Anyone with an invitation would be respectfully invited into the city lord's mansion. Otherwise, he would definitely be served with a rod. At this moment, Sun Hao was already sitting in the city lord mansion. The entire hall was several thousand square meters in size. Hundreds of tables filled the entire hall. In the center of the hall, there was a stage that seemed to be specially used for singing and dancing performances. However, from the looks of it, the 9-tailed heavenly fox would definitely be presented to everyone today. There were already 5 men and women sitting next to Sun Hao. One of them had not said a word since he came in, and he did not make a sound. His expression made it seem as if everyone owed him tens of thousands of demon essence crystals. There were such people at every table. Brother, did you buy your invitation? A slightly chubby man saluted Sun Hao with his fists and asked. I snatched it, Sun Hao said lightly. Ah, the slightly chubby man was shocked. Why didn't you sell it? Don't you know that an invitation was sold for 500 demon essence crystals? So what? This is the 9-tailed heavenly fox, an ancient bloodline. Can't you broaden your horizons? Sun Hao said. Yes, of course. The slightly chubby man touched his round belly, showing a complacent look. I've bought my invitation, which cost me 200 demon essence crystals. Oh, Sun Hao nodded without much emotion. Seeing this scene, the slightly chubby man's eyes showed a trace of displeasure. Brother, are you from Chongyuan City? The slightly chubby man asked. No, Sun Hao said faintly. So that's how it is. No wonder I'm unfamiliar with you. The slightly chubby man looked up and down at Sun Hao, and a look of contempt flashed. Then he turned around, looked at the stern-looking man, and asked, Little brother, did you buy this invitation? However, the serious man didn't say a word, completely ignored. The corners of the slightly chubby man's mouth twitched angrily, and his face was ugly. Little brother, what are you doing? Could it be that you are? Before the words fell, Get lost, a loud shout startled the slightly chubby man. Sensing the momentum of the serious man, the slightly chubby man's face was frightened, and he moved his body back. Then, he immediately changed the table. Brother, did you buy your invitation? As soon as he sat down, he looked for someone to talk about this issue. Hearing this, Sun Hao shook his head secretly. He closed his eyes and began to wait. As time passed, the whole scene became more and more intense. The sound of discussion kept ringing. After a while, wow! A burst of exclamation woke Sun Hao up. He looked up, and his pupils shrank slightly. He saw, on the central platform of the main hall, a group of people stood. The leader, with a goatee, had a superior aura on his body. Just standing there was a kind of dignified aura exuding without anger. This person was none other than the city lord of Chongming City, Jiang Chengming. He looked at the crowd with a smile and opened his mouth to speak. Thank you for your kindness. It is a great honor for everyone to come to this banquet. This time, there is only one reason why I held this banquet. That is to show everyone the appearance of the nine-tailed celestial fox. This is the ancient demon race, and it is difficult to find her trace in thousands of miles. Blessed by heaven, I can meet the nine-tailed celestial fox and catch her. Jiang Qingming said one sentence at a time. Every sentence seemed modest, but in fact he was bragging about his achievements to everyone. These words reached the ears of everyone, but it was extremely useful. The city lord is mighty. City Lord Jiang is worthy of being the #1 expert in ancient Demon County. Amazing. City Lord Jiang's heroic appearance really makes me envious. The sound of flattery kept ringing. When Jiang Qingming heard this, the corners of his mouth rose, and his eyes narrowed into a slit. He didn't know how happy he was. After a long time, the whole scene gradually quieted down. Everyone, please calm down. When the banquet is over, I will invite the nine-tailed celestial fox out. Okay? Jiang Qingming asked. Okay. The exclamations continued. Everyone showed a warm look on their faces. Sun Hao stood in the crowd and looked at Jiang Qingming calmly. Ninth grade divine emperor realm, the one who released the divine sense, it doesn't seem to be him. Could it be that the one who arranged all this is not him, but someone else? Sun Hao thought secretly, his eyes like an eagle, as if he had seen through Jiang Qingming. Okay, now the banquet begins. Under Jiang Qingming's command, the scene quickly quieted down. Following that, maids carrying delicacies from the land and sea quickly walked in. Chapter 575. City Lord Jiang, bottoms up. Cheers. Thousands of people stayed in the main hall, toasting and exchanging glasses, very happy. After a few rounds, many people were drunk and in a trance. City Lord Jiang, when can we see the nine-tailed celestial fox? Yeah, City Lord Jiang, we've been drinking for an hour. If I drink any more, I'm going to fall down. Such voices kept ringing. Hearing this, Jiang Qingming raised the corner of his mouth and waved his hand on the stage. In that case, I'll send someone to invite the nine-tailed celestial fox immediately. Okay? Jiang Qingming's voice was leisurely and clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. When everyone heard this, their eyes lit up and their faces were full of joy. Good, they shouted in unison, causing the entire hall to buzz and tremble. Soon after, she's here. A cry of surprise sounded. Surrounded by a group of maids, a woman dressed in a red robe with an unearthly temperament came leisurely. Her delicate facial features could not be picked out a trace of fault. Her skin was like cream, and it could be broken by blowing. Those eyes, at a glance, would make people lost in them and unable to extricate themselves. The most noticeable thing was the 2 fox ears on her head, which were drooping as if she had been wronged. The moment they saw this woman, everyone's eyes were focused on her. The whole scene was dead silent. Even Sun Hao, looking at this fox-eared woman, was slightly startled. Sun Hao had seen this woman before. Who, Luotti? Sun Hao murmured, his eyebrows wrinkled, and his face was puzzled. In the crowd, in the entire hall, many people quietly took out their weapons and held them tightly in their hands. That appearance seemed like a group of soldiers waiting for orders. Hello, everyone. My name is Hu Luotti. Nice to meet you all. The fox-eared woman stood on the stage, smiling at the crowd, and at the same time, throwing a coquettish look at everyone. This throw simply took the lives of the vast majority of men. Their hearts seemed to be clenched tightly, beating violently. Hu Luotti, you're so beautiful. I love you. Hu Luotti, it's not a waste to see you in this life. A group of people gathered around, like a groupie, enthusiastic and excited. If there were no guards guarding by the side, I'm afraid someone would rush to the stage. Do it. Suddenly, a loud shout rang out. Following that, men and women dressed in black turned into streaks of light and dashed toward the stage. Each of them exuded the aura of a god-arch. The appearance of these people instantly stunned everyone in the hall. They raised their heads to look at the men and women in black. Their pupils constricted and their expressions changed drastically. These are demon thearchs. Oh my god, so many demon thearchs. This is too scary. What's going on? Why are they attacking the city lore together? At this moment, everyone stood rooted to the ground, unable to calm down. Their hearts beat violently, as if they were about to jump out of their throats. Everyone's gaze followed the movements of these men and women in black. When Jiang Qingming saw this, a smile flashed across his face. Then, his figure slowly disappeared, as if he had never been there. "Get into formation!" The captain of the guards roared. This voice jolted all the guards awake. With halberds in their hands, they charged straight at the hundreds of men and women in black. However, in front of a God Emperor-level expert, how could they be a match for him? Stab! The sound of metal piercing flesh and blood kept ringing. None of these guards could hold on for a breath, and they were all killed. Flesh and blood were shattered on the ground, and it was horrible to look at. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's expression. Many people's hearts sank to hell, and their bodies trembled violently. Especially the slightly fat man who had chatted with Sun Hao before. His whole body collapsed to the ground, cold sweat flowing. Fortunately, I didn't act rashly at the time. Otherwise, I would have been beheaded now. He looked at Man in Black and kept wiping the cold sweat on his forehead. "Luo Di, don't be afraid. I'm coming." The leader of the Men in Black stepped back, jumped up, and rushed straight to the stage. However, a barrier suddenly lit up on the stage, repelling the man in front of him. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the ground exploded into a crack. Boom! There was another loud noise, and the men and women in black who rushed to the front of the stage were repelled by the barrier and fell heavily to the ground. On the stage, the fox-eared woman looked at this scene, and 2 lines of tears slipped down from the corners of her eyes. "Brother, don't worry about me, Run. It'll be too late if you wait any longer." The fox-eared woman shouted this sentence with a heart-wrenching voice. However, her voice was all isolated by the barrier and did not reach the outside at all. The leader of the Men in Black struggled to stand up, looking at the fox-eared woman's lips and seemed to hear what she said. "Luo Di, don't say it. I will save you. Today, whoever dares to stop me, I will kill them all." After the leader of the Men in Black finished speaking, he released his breath. The aura of the 9th grade Divine Emperor rushed out and enveloped the entire hall. At this moment, everyone felt like they had fallen into hell, and their bodies trembled uncontrollably. One by one, they knelt on the ground, shivering. The man stretched out his hand and tore hard. His face was like a layer of mask being torn off, revealing his true appearance. On his head, there were 2 fox ears. Luo Xian. The moment he saw this man's face, Sun Hao couldn't help but be shocked. Unexpectedly, he could meet him here. In this way, the fox-eared woman in the formation was Huluadi. Sun Hao frowned, sitting in the hall, motionless. That expression was as if he was scared silly. "From today on, my 9-tailed celestial fox clan will no longer hide. If anyone dares to hit us, then give me your life." Huluashian's voice was faint, and his terrifying aura swept the entire hall. Wow! Under the leadership of Luo Xian, all the men and women in black tore off the masks on their faces and revealed their true faces. On each person's head, there were 2 fox ears. As soon as this scene appeared, the entire hall was dead silent. After many people glanced at Luo Xian and the others from the corner of their eyes widened. 9-tailed celestial fox. All of them are 9-tailed celestial foxes, my god. Isn't it rare to see a 9-tailed celestial fox? How come I see so many at once? So many monster emperors were finished to run. Panicked voices resounded throughout the hall. Many people were awakened, struggled to stand up, and fled out of the hall. However, boom! There were loud noises, one after another. The entire hall was shrouded in a barrier. They hit the barrier and were bounced back heavily. Everyone stopped and stood in place, their faces changing. What's going on? Are we trapped here? City Lord, where's City Lord Jiang? Why is he gone? I have a bad feeling that we're dead. It's over. This banquet is a shocking conspiracy. What should we do? Who will save us? The cry for help resounded throughout the hall. The hall instantly fell into chaos. Chapter 576. Hu Luoxian's right hand turned into a claw, aimed at the barrier on the stage, and clawed down. Swoosh! A light flashed, and a terrifying aura instantly arrived. Crack! Cracks began to appear on the barrier, and then it began to crack open. Phew! Hu Luoxian jumped onto the stage, and held the fox-eared lady. Luo Di, I'm coming. Don't worry, I'll get you out of here. Hu Luoxian looked determined. The fox-eared lady heard this, and kept shaking her head. Brother, you're so silly, you're so silly. We're finished, we're all finished. The fox-eared lady's face was bitter, like a wooden chicken. Luo Di, what nonsense are you talking about? I'm here, no one can bully you. After that, Hu Luoxian hugged the fox-eared lady tightly and ran off the stage. The fox-eared lady's mouth curled up, and a hint of killing intent flashed. She fell into Hu Luoxian's arms, stretched out her hands, and gently placed them on Hu Luoxian's shoulders. Suddenly, the fox-eared lady's eyes flashed, and her two palms suddenly turned into claws and pressed down on Hu Luoxian's shoulders. This sudden scene was so fast that no one could react. The fox-eared lady sneered. In the next second, she could hear the sound of the shoulder exploding. However, the two claws grabbed down but missed. Hu Luoxian's figure had already appeared 100 meters away. The fox-eared lady was startled, and a hint of surprise appeared on her face. Interesting. You can actually find out that I'm not your sister? The fox-eared lady's figure changed, and instantly turned into a coquettish lady. How will my sister imitate you? Full of loopholes, how would I not know? Hu Luoxian snorted. If that's the case, then why do you still stand out? The coquettish lady asked. Since you can transform into her appearance, then you must have seen her. Speak. Where's my sister locked up by you? Hu Luoxian looked at the coquettish lady, and his voice was cold. What if I don't say? The coquettish lady asked. Then die. Her voice was cold, and contained a strong, killing intent. Oh, Lang Jun, you're so cruel. We just hugged, and you actually want to kill me. Woo. The seductive woman squeezed out a few drops of tears and pretended to cry. However, such a scene was useless to Hu Luoxian. Hu Luoxian arrived in the blink of an eye. He extended his claws and pounced at the coquettish woman. Swish! Every claw tore through space, causing explosions to ring out. Looking at Hu Luoxian's claws, the gorgeous woman's expression changed drastically. You've actually cultivated the nine-tailed celestial fox clan's insulating claw to this level. The coquettish woman looked extremely serious. She took out a sharp blade and moved her body to block Hu Luoxian's attack. Ding! For a time, the sound of metal clashing rang out continuously. Waves of chi continuously howled in all directions. Gotcha! Even with the protection of the formation, cracks still appeared on the ground. The terrifying might caused the expressions of the onlookers to change greatly. Their bodies continuously shrank back as they trembled. The two of them fought fiercely on the stage, and no one could approach them. Boom! There was an explosion. The dagger in the woman's hand shattered into pieces. A wave of air blasted the coquettish woman back, and she fell to the ground. For a while, she did not struggle to get up. Are you going to say it or not? Hu Luoxian looked at the coquettish woman and said in a cold voice. He walked toward her step by step. Above his claws, a chilling light was exuding. The coquettish woman struggled to get up. She wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and revealed a smile. The insulating claw really lives up to its reputation. However, do you think it's possible to save Hu Luoди with this? The coquettish woman looked at Hu Luoxian and sneered. In the next second, her expression stagnated. Looking up, she saw that Hu Luoxian had already stood in front of her. He raised his hand and slapped down. Boom! A slap slapped the coquettish woman's face hard. Her body flew upside down and hit the ground heavily, falling with a dusty face. She struggled for a long time and did not stand up. Half of her face was directly torn by Huluosien. The miserable scene was unbearable to look at. Even if she spoke, her mouth was leaking air, and she could not hear it clearly. She pointed at Huluosien and spoke for a long time, but there was no complete sentence. Are you going to say it or not? Huluosien stepped out and instantly stood in front of the coquettish woman and said coldly. The coquettish woman's body twitched, and a half of her face that was torn actually recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than a moment, it was restored to its original state. Her body stood up straight and looked at Huluosien, revealing a cold smile. "Ha ha, kid, even if I say it, you won't be able to escape from here. The Lord will be here soon. At that time, it will be too late for you to kneel and beg for mercy." The coquettish woman said, Since you won't say it, then I'll kill you first." After saying that, Huluosien grabbed the coquettish woman's neck with one hand. Like pinching a chicken, no matter how she struggled, it was futile. "Die!" He stretched out his claws, aimed at the coquettish woman's head, and fell. Ding! There was no expected scene of the head cracking. There was only a sound of metal colliding. Huluosien's pupils shrank, and his face changed slightly. When he was about to turn around, he couldn't help but stagnate. All the hairs on his body stood up, and his whole body trembled uncontrollably. An indescribable coercion enveloped his whole body. Everyone in the entire hall fell to the ground uncontrollably, shivering. This is the coercion of the demon saint, my God. It's over. The demon saint has descended. Who can be its opponent? Could it be that all of this was set up by the demon saint? Voices of despair sounded from many people's mouths. No matter how they struggled, it was difficult to stand up for a while. Soon after, the coercion that pressed on everyone stopped abruptly. Everyone recovered and looked up at the central platform of the hall. Their pupils shrank and their faces changed slightly, only to see, on the platform, there were suddenly two more people. One of them was a white-bearded old man. The other person was the city lord, Jiang Qingming. Jiang Qingming stood behind the white-bearded old man with a respectful face. "Lordly, look, these are all nine-tailed celestial foxes. Are you satisfied with them?" Jiang Qingming pointed to Huluosien and the others and asked. "Not bad." Speaking of this, the white-bearded old man's face flashed with anger. "However, my son died in your territory. How are you going to deal with it?" Hearing this, Jiang Qingming broke into a cold sweat. He bowed deeply to the white-bearded old man. "Lordly, don't worry. I will catch the murderer and give the young master an explanation." "Catch!" The white-bearded old man snorted coldly. "Within 3 months, if you don't catch the murderer, bring your head to me. Understand?" "Yes, Lord." Chapter 577. Listening to their conversation, Huluosien glanced at the white-bearded old man. "It seems that you are the behind-the-scenes mastermind who arranged all this. Release my sister, or I will kill her." Huluosien grabbed the coquettish woman's neck and said coldly, "Who?" The white-bearded old man swept his eyes and stared at Huluosien. A terrifying pressure followed his gaze and pressed onto Huluosien's body in an instant. At this moment, Huluosien's body seemed to be pressed by several giant mountains, and for a while, it was difficult to move. Huluosien clenched his teeth and used all his strength, but it was useless. In front of the demon saint, he was like an ant without the slightest struggle. "Kid, are you talking to me?" The white-bearded old man said lightly. The voice was not loud, but the power was extremely terrifying. With this sound, Huluosien's hand on the coquettish woman's neck loosened uncontrollably. Boom! The woman fell on the stage and breathed for a long time to recover. She quickly ran in front of the white-bearded old man and knelt down. "Greetings, my lord." You can't even do such a small thing. Step down." The white-bearded old man said. "Yes, my lord." The coquettish woman quickly retreated to the side. Huluosien looked at the white-bearded old man and struggled with all his might. But it didn't work at all. The white-bearded old man looked at Luo and said lightly, "If it weren't for the fact that you are a nine-tailed celestial fox, you would have died 10,000 times. You are a rare treasure. I can't bear to hurt you." At this point, the white-bearded old man waved his right hand. All the nine-tailed celestial foxes flew out uncontrollably and were all imprisoned on the stage. No matter how they struggled, it was of no use. 485, not bad. This time, I have also made a small contribution. The white-bearded old man muttered to himself, and a proud look flashed across his face. Suddenly, he turned around and swept his gaze across everyone in the hall. This glance was like a devilish beast staring at them from hell. Everyone's hair stood on end, and there was a chill on their backs. "As for you guys, all of you go to hell." The white-bearded old man looked at everyone, and his cold, killing intent was not concealed. He stretched out his finger, aimed at the front, and blasted. Gotcha! Like a mirror, the space shattered into pieces. The power that could destroy heaven and earth spread towards everyone at lightning speed. Seeing this scene, everyone's expression changed drastically, and despair and regret were written all over their faces. "No, I don't want to die. Sir, spare me. I shouldn't have come here. Curiosity killed the cat. Who can save me?" Everyone felt like they were in hell, falling into endless despair. They didn't even have the courage to struggle. The white-bearded old man's expression did not change when he saw this. "Your demon crystals will be useful. Your deaths will go down in history. You can die in peace." The white-bearded old man murmured. A terrifying power erupted from his finger and rapidly spread throughout the hall. It looked like everyone was about to be blasted into smithereens. At this moment, a gust of wind blew past. All the power dissipated. The white-bearded old man's expression froze as he swept his gaze across the entire hall. However, after looking for a long time, he didn't see anything unusual. "Who is it?" His voice reverberated throughout the hall. This sound woke everyone up at the start. They raised their heads and stared at the white-bearded old man. "What's going on? Could it be that Sir doesn't want to kill us?" "No, it seems like someone is secretly stopping him." The voice of doubt resounded in everyone's heart. Many people murmured and prayed secretly. In their hearts, the hope of survival was ignited. Hiding the head and showing the tail, this is not a skill. Since you dare to stop me, you should dare to stand up and fight with this old man. Otherwise, this old man will not say a word, even if I kill everyone. After saying this, the white-bearded old man suddenly made a move, and a terrifying power raged in the entire hall. It looked like everyone's body was about to explode into a blood mist. At this moment, all the power dissipated. The entire hall returned to calm. This time he was stopped again, and his reaction speed was not any slower than the white-bearded old man. The white-bearded old man opened his mouth but didn't spit out a word. A touch of panic flashed across his face. To be able to resolve his move so easily, the person who secretly made a move was not simple. Even his strength was not under his own. It would not be easy for him to kill everyone by means of coercion. If he used holy power, he was afraid that the entire Chongming city would be destroyed. "Sir, is it interesting to hide like this? If you let me use my true strength, the entire Chongming city will also be destroyed. This is not what you want to see, right?" After saying this, "Are you looking for me?" An ordinary-looking man stood up. He looked so ordinary that he couldn't be more ordinary. In a crowd, he couldn't find any characteristics at all. This man was none other than Sun Hao. The white-bearded old man looked at Sun Hao and frowned slightly. His divine thoughts scanned Sun Hao. After a while, he withdrew his gaze, revealing a dignified face. No matter how he looked at it, Sun Hao was just a little guy in the Demon King realm. How could such a brat stop him? "Little guy, did you stop me just now?" The white-bearded old man took a step forward. With this step, the terrifying coercion followed his steps, and all pressed on Sun Hao. He thought that Sun Hao would be crushed to the ground. However, Sun Hao walked towards the white-bearded old man step by step, and his speed didn't even slow down. It was as if all the old man's power was ineffective against him. How is this possible? The white-bearded old man was shocked, showing an incredible look. That little guy didn't even use holy power, and he could stop his coercion? What realm has his physical body reached? In this world, is there such a strong physical body? The white-bearded old man thought secretly, and his face became more and more solemn. Who are you? Say it. Otherwise, if I use holy power, the entire Chongming city will be destroyed. The white-bearded old man looked at Sun Hao and threatened. With just you, can you destroy it? Sun Hao said calmly, walking towards the white-bearded old man step by step. As soon as these words came out, there was dead silence all around. Everyone stared at Sun Hao as if staring at a monster. A demon king shouted at a demon saint, and he was so arrogant. In this world, besides this person, who else could it be? In the crowd, the slightly fat man looked at Sun Hao and couldn't help but widen his eyes, showing a look of disbelief. How could it be him? He rubbed his eyes, thinking that he had seen it wrong. Do you know him? I don't really know him. I only know that he is from a small village. Just this courage of his is worthy of my admiration. The slightly fat man looked at Sun Hao, his eyes full of worship. His eyes followed Sun Hao closely as he moved. Chapter 578. Kid, boasting shamelessly, watch my move. The white-bearded old man's body flashed and disappeared instantly. When he appeared again, he was already standing behind Sun Hao. He stretched out his palm and pressed it down on Sun Hao's head. The terrifying power made everyone's pupils shrink, and their faces changed drastically. Be careful, many people shouted. However, it was too late. This palm, in just an instant, pressed on Sun Hao's head. Kid, die. In the next second, the white-bearded old man could see Sun Hao's head cracked, and he died on the spot. However, dong, on the iron wall like a mortal's hand, there was a sound of metal colliding. A shock force shook the white-bearded old man's palm for a while. He looked at the cracked palm with blood marks, and his eyes widened. At this moment, he seemed to have forgotten the pain, and there was only a look of horror. This is impossible. This physical body is even stronger than a sacred weapon? The white-bearded old man's face changed drastically. Without thinking about it, he took a step and fled quickly. Today, he hit an iron plate. With such a terrifying physical body, if he fought against him, he would only end up with a tragic death. Fortunately, he only had a strong physical body, and his strength was not strong. Fortunately, he had set up a great formation here. Otherwise, he would not be able to escape. At this point, the white-bearded old man breathed a long sigh of relief. He sped up a bit and quickly ran out of the hall. Li Zhu, do you think it's so easy to come and go as you please? With this sound, the white-bearded old man was horrified to find that he was stuck in a quagmire, and it was extremely difficult to move. The great formation he had set up did not listen to his command. The next second, the white-bearded old man was even more horrified, and his body trembled uncontrollably. This is impossible. He was horrified to find that his body was bound by a great formation and brought to Sun Hao. Sun Hao looked down at the white-bearded old man and said calmly, Li Zhu, are you in such a hurry to leave? You, who the hell are you? The white-bearded old man's voice trembled, and his whole body trembled uncontrollably. Without the pressure of the white-bearded old man, everyone regained their freedom. However, at this moment, no one dared to move. Everyone's eyes were focused on Sun Hao. There was disbelief in the doubt, and suspicion in the disbelief. It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is that I killed your son. Sun Hao said faintly. What? My son is yours. At this point, the white-bearded old man's voice gradually weakened. Unease was written all over his face. He struggled frantically, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. My lord, spare me. As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned on the spot. Everyone's expression kept changing. What? The demon saint actually begged that demon king for mercy? Monster king? That's what you think. I think he's at least a demon saint. That's right. Such a person saved us. And you still think he's a monster king? Where's your brain? Cries of surprise could be heard. Sun Hao turned a deaf ear to these voices. He looked at the white-bearded old man and said, "It's not impossible for me to spare your life." But at this point, Sun Hao's voice paused. "Sir, please tell me. As long as I know, I will tell you everything I know." The white-bearded old man nodded repeatedly. "What is your purpose in designing to catch the nine-tailed celestial fox?" Sun Hao asked. "My lord, I was just ordered by the king to catch the demon race with ancient demon race bloodline, saying that it was of great use. I don't know what the specific use is." The white-bearded old man said. "You really don't know?" Sun Hao looked at the white-bearded old man and said faintly. This stare made the white-bearded old man's body tremble. His face changed slightly, and he kept kowtowing. "My lord, I really don't know, but according to my guess, it should be the reason why the strange battle is about to start." The white-bearded old man said. "Strange battle? What is this?" Sun Hao was puzzled. He didn't understand it at all. Now, in front of so many people, it was not good to ask. Otherwise, he would be regarded as a different species. It was the best plan to ask Hu Luoxian alone later. Sun Hao thought secretly, burying many questions in his heart, for fear that others would treat him as a different species. "Let me ask you another question. I killed your son. Do you really not want revenge?" Sun Hao stared at the white-bearded old man and asked. Hearing this, the white-bearded old man's body trembled. There was a touch of fear on his face. He knelt in front of Sun Hao, shivering. "Senior, my lord, you don't dare, even if you give me 10,000 guts." The white-bearded old man waved his hand again and again, extremely frightened. "I will definitely cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Since I promised you, I will spare your life. Give me your demon crystal." Sun Hao stretched out his hand and said faintly. The white-bearded old man's face changed drastically, and his whole body kept trembling. Taking out his demon crystal was like wasting his whole body's cultivation. From then on, he would be reduced to a waste, and anyone could bully him. If so, what was the point of living? "Say, Senior, please be merciful and spare my life." The white-bearded old man kept kowtowing. "I'll give you one last chance. Give it to me." Sun Hao stretched out his hand and said faintly. The white-bearded old man's face changed indefinitely, as if he was making a difficult decision. "Since you don't give this old man a chance to live, then let's die together." The white-bearded old man, smiled coldly, and with a move of his mind, he immediately detonated the demon crystal in his mind. Oh! The white-bearded old man's head lit up with a dazzling light. Such a scene directly scared the surrounding people to the point of stupefaction. Not good. He's going to blow himself up. If the demon saint blows himself up, the entire Chongming city will be finished. Despair was written on everyone's face. They closed their eyes and waited quietly for death. Boom! An explosion rang out, causing everyone to tremble in fear. They gritted their teeth and quietly waited for the moment when a shock wave came. However, after waiting for a while, they didn't feel the scene of being crushed to pieces. After opening his eyes, he couldn't help but widen his eyes and look stunned, only to see the white-bearded old man's head exploded. A colorful, flowing demon crystal slowly floated in front of Sun Hao. "In front of this seat, you want to blow yourself up?" He gently held the demon crystal and looked at it in his hand. Not bad. With a wave of his right hand, he put away the demon crystal. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's eyes. Everyone's eyes widened, showing an unbelievable expression. Gratitude, worship, awe was written on everyone's face. "Thank you, Senior, for saving my life." No one knew who took the lead, but everyone knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Sun Hao. Even Hu Luoxian and others also knelt on the ground. At this moment, after Jiang Chengming and the coquettish woman's faces showed a touch of panic. Their hearts sank to hell, and their bodies were as if filled with lead, extremely difficult to move. They carefully retreated, wanting to leave the hall. However, did this seat let you go?